Good morning. It is 5 a.m. and I'm Jay Harper in for Joan Jones, and I've got your top stories. We'll get to that weather forecast and a traffic report here in just a bit. After a tense day of last-minute negotiations, Israel's cabinet is expected to vote on the new ceasefire agreement as soon as today. The deal includes the release of 33 hostages being held by Hamas in Gaza in exchange for the release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners in Israel. ABC's Tom Sufi Burridge, he's in Tel Aviv.
A section of society doesn't want this deal at all. The likes of Itamar Ben-Gvir, the security minister, who says he will resign from the government if the deal is approved by the cabinet. It won't pull down the government, his resignation, because we expect other members of the Israeli opposition to come in to shore up the government to make sure that the ceasefire deal can go through.
Back here in the U.S., fire crews, they are still working hard to contain those fires in Southern California fire zones, as residents are now starting to look to rebuild. ABC's Rhiannon Ally is in L.A.
Authorities are reopening some areas for residents to return to. Linda Zhang went back to what's left of her home, searching for her cat.
Nico, if I can even find his tag.
She's staying in an Airbnb, struggling to find a new place to live. The fires damaged or destroyed at least 12,000 homes and other buildings, including 10 schools.
Back here in Tennessee, Democrats in the 114th General Assembly, they're speaking out against new rules in the House to crack down on disruptions from the floor that could lead to a member being removed and put in a room where they can observe, but they can vote there, but they cannot be heard. We'll hear now from Channel 4's Stacey Cameron.
Republicans say the new rules are no different than how people are expected to behave in, say, court or in the U.S. Congress. Democrats say it's all just a power play to silence anyone who doesn't agree with House leadership.
Another rule dealing with the disruptions from the gallery could have offenders banned from the next two sessions. Now let's turn to the market numbers report. It's brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. You can find them online at beaconcm.com. With a wrap-up of yesterday's closing news, here's Michelle Frenzen.
Wall Street indexes dipped at the close of Thursday trading after Wednesday's rally in response to the latest inflation news. The Dow finished the day down 68 points. The Nasdaq dropped 173, and the S&P 500 slipped 13 points. Shares of United Health fell on Thursday after the company issued its first earnings report since CEO Brian Thompson was gunned down in New York City last month. The company faces rising medical costs. Analysts report more than 87% of collected premiums were spent on medical costs. Oil company BP announced it's cutting 4,700 jobs worldwide and eliminating 3,000 contractor roles in a bid to cut costs. Toyota's truck division Hino has agreed to pay more than $1.6 billion and plead guilty to violations related to submitting false engine emission and fuel consumption data.
Now let's look at the stock futures before the opening bell. The Dow up 113, the S&P 500 up 17.5, and the Nasdaq futures up 86.5. That is the latest news. Traffic, weather, they're next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. Well, here, our first look at traffic at 5 after 5 here on this Friday morning. Smooth sailing. We've got no accidents, no breakdowns, no construction delays to report. We've got traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.507 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I want you to think about it this way. Today is the last full weekday that we have to deal with Joe Biden and his administration. I want you to think about not only the fact that, thank the Lord, it's Friday, but it is also, again, the last full weekday that we have to deal with Joe Biden. Now, if you listened yesterday, you know that we had a comedy of errors, technically. And it wasn't KGB's fault, but I believe all of the issues have been fixed. And we actually now have, I believe, figured out how to do an official poll, Nashville's Morning News, on YouTube. And we just put it up. Here's what our question is. So if you want to watch the radio show, you can go to YouTube, find us on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and take the poll. What is your favorite Trump plan ahead of course, his inauguration on Monday? Is it A, mass deportation? Is it economic reform? Or is it the end of DEI? What are you most looking forward to? So that is our Nashville's Morning News YouTube poll. So if you want to watch the radio show, you can, and go take our poll as well. By the way, KGB, can we figure out, clearly, we can figure out what people's priority is. There's a way to find out the results.
Yes, I have the live results as we speak. 6 votes already. 50% go mass deportation and 50% DEI.
Wow, I'm a little surprised by that.
I am too.
What is your...
mass deportation just took the lead.
I'm all for mass deportation. If Jay is back there and actually listening instead of doing his job of preparing the news, Jay, what is your big Trump priority that you're looking forward to on Monday?
For me, it's rounding up the illegal criminals and getting them the heck out of here.
All right, mass deportation.
Yes, sir.
Economic reform, end of DEI as well. So thank you, KGB, for working so hard. He had to talk to 4 corporate engineers, and we had to go through about 3 different lawyers as well. So he was able to get it done. So thank you. Go take the poll right now. Would really appreciate it if you would play along. Speaking of which, mass deportation. Oh, my Lord, there is so much news to talk about real quick. We all know that Joe Biden is weak on crime, weak especially on illegal aliens. Just a couple of important headlines as we all look forward to Monday when Trump is sworn in and the war against Tren de Aragua and sanctuary cities and illegal aliens does begin. But listen to these headlines, because this is horrifying. Number 1, a Connecticut parole board has actually pardoned an illegal alien, a pedophile, who says he might actually reoffend. Rather horrifying, is it not? A convicted pedophile, an illegal migrant, was released from a Connecticut prison last month after his sympathetic parole board mulled how to best help him avoid deportation from Donald Trump. The crazy thing about this story is that the parole board, even after this dude says, well, I can't guarantee you that I'm not going to, reoffend and go molesting little children. I can't guarantee that I'm not going to do that. They actually talked about how to help him not be deported. I mean, that is absolutely insane. Garino Magliori, 52, was serving 5 years in prison for felony second-degree sexual assault against a child between 13 and 15 years old. He was convicted of sexually assaulting the child on March 11th of 2020. And so then he's got a parole hearing. I guess this was New Year's Eve, so it was last month. And he said he can't promise that he's not going to offend again. Here's the exact quote. I can't say that I promise that it's not going to happen because that's not always a thing when you say, oh, I promise. He told the parole board, no, I'm not going to say I promise. But I'll definitely try to do my best to keep myself away from situations like that again. Now, this guy has been here since the age of 11. He's from Haiti, and ICE, they're ready to be deported. Absolutely ready to be deported. So this guy is now out. It's crazy. An illegal sex offender who can't promise that he won't do it again. Then you have this story. Headline from the Daily Mail from just this morning. Joe Biden's DOJ gives a sweetheart plea deal to a murderous gang leader who Donald Trump wanted to execute. This is horrifying. And I think this is why there's so many people, when we ask the question in our YouTube poll, what is your favorite Trump plan? Mass deportation, economic reform, end of DEI. I'm willing to bet that more people, if you go take the poll right now, watch us on YouTube, more people are going to say mass deportation because of stories like this. A notorious MS-13 gang leader who admitted to his involvement in at least 7 murders received a sweetheart plea deal thanks to Joe Biden's Department of Justice. Guy's name is Jairo Sayanez, 28 years old. He will avoid the death penalty and life in prison, as he will receive a sentence of 40 to 60 years on charges including murder, attempted murder, and arson. He and his gang of thugs, by the way, including his brother, macheted a couple of poor girls to death. It's horrible. Macheted and baseball bats. That's what they do with MS-13. In his time running the gang in Suffolk County, New York, their branch was linked to several violent cases, including the murder of 2 Brentwood High School girls with, again, a machete and a baseball bat in September of 2016. Now, this guy's branch of the gang was dismantled during Donald Trump's first term in office, as he launched a federal crackdown on MS-13. Do you remember the good old days?
We believe the monsters who murder children should be put to death. We seem to have quite a good agreement on that. These people murder children, and they do it as slowly and viciously as possible. We will not allow these animals to terrorize our communities, and my administration will not rest until every member of MS-13 is brought to justice.
Yeah, now we also have Trende Aragua to worry about. Now, at their arrests, it sparked a lot of controversy because this guy and his brother, who killed these 2 girls, sparked outrage by joking and laughing in court while the girls' families watched on. And once in jail, he is said to have taken part in violent attacks on other inmates and assaulted the corrections officers as well. Now, if Sayanez serves the lower end of his 40 to 60-year sentence, it will amount to, get this, less than 6 years for each murder he is admitted to committing or ordering. And Joe Biden wants to make sure that this guy stays alive. In a statement to Fox News after the plea deal was announced, a spokesperson for the U.S. Attorney's Office confirmed to Fox News that this guy and his dirtbag murderous brother were no longer facing the possibility of the death penalty, saying that our office had been directed by the U.S. Attorney General in 2023 not to seek the death penalty. Unbelievable. Now, here's another question for you. Do you really think that on January 20th, when Trump is sworn in and it's time to begin the mass deportation, starting with people that are in Tren de Aragua, MS-13, and so forth. Do you think they're going to go quietly? No, they're not. And some very worrisome predictions coming up next. It is 5:16. Time to check the roads on WTN.
Yeah, Dan, we're still looking mighty good here to get our Friday morning commute started at 16 minutes past 5. No accidents or breakdowns slowing down your commute this morning. We've got traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay. 5:16, Nashville's Morning News. As far as your weather goes, today it's going to be a high of 57, rain tonight, warmer on Saturday, and then apparently on Sunday is when the really frigid temperatures begin. So we're going to talk about that, and we'll have that complete forecast for you at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here talking about everything that's going on regarding illegal immigration and mass deportation, which will begin on Monday after Donald Trump takes the oath of office. And we're talking about horrible people that will, a lot of these folks, been living here for a long time, maybe a short time. Biden let them in. Maybe they've been here for years, whatever. There is a guy named Victor Avila. Now, he was on Fox News. He is a former ICE agent, and he knows everything that's been going on with the Biden administration, from, asking states not to put these dirtbag murderers to death, like in the story that I just reported to you, or like in Connecticut, where they released a child molester who couldn't promise that he wouldn't molest again. These are the kinds of policies that ushered Donald Trump right into office. And Victor Avila, a former ICE agent, has been there for it all. He's been watching all of this, and he was on Fox News. And he says that all of these gangbangers have actually gotten used to being able to literally get away with murder. And they're not going to go quietly.
These individuals are armed and dangerous, and it's not like when you go and pick them up, they're going to, I think, go easily into the custody of ICE officials or other immigration officials. They're going to put up a fight because they're here for a very different agenda, and that's the caution that ICE officials and others will have to take on when they do approach them come here next week very soon.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. These guys have guns. They have machetes, and they have whatever else they need to battle ICE. And so now the worry seems to be, since these guys do have those guns and they do have those machetes, all kinds of weapons, if ICE shows up and they're going to deport them, they're going to arrest them, whatever, then there is going to be war in the streets. There's going to be bullets flying. And you think gang warfare right now is bad on the streets of Chicago? I'm just thinking, what is it going to be like if Tom Homan and ICE show up trying to arrest Tren de Aragua? I mean, heck, here in Tennessee, we know that they're here. I mean, I've covered this for you ad nauseum at this point. We know that Tren de Aragua is in every major Tennessee city, including here in Nashville. So what happens when ICE shows up here? What happens when our governor and our state legislature, they're all working with the Trump administration to get these bad guys out of here and deport them or do whatever it is that they need to do with these folks? Are you worried that bullets are going to fly? Because there's a lot of people that are. Now, coming up, right before the news, Jay Harper is in for Joan Jones. Before the news, I don't know if you saw this, but Josh Hawley, one of my favorites, by the way, in the Senate, absolutely eviscerates a guy, staying with the theme of illegal immigration, absolutely eviscerates a guy who said that migrant crime, illegal alien crime, isn't really all that big of a deal. As you can imagine, Josh Hawley just tears this guy apart. It is great audio. I've got it for you. It is 5:20 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. News is coming up with Jay Harper at 5:30. Jay, what do we got?
Yes, sir, Dan. Well, are you a TikTok fan? Well, we've got some news on the controversial but popular app and more bickering in Congress over Trump cabinet picks. What else is new? We'll have those stories and more at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
525, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. KGB needs some audio if we could. By the way, go to our YouTube feed if you want to watch the radio show. It's fascinating from what I understand. But we actually have a poll. I think we're going to try to do this daily. Jay, how do you like this? The Daily Dan poll.
Yes, hey, sounds like a plan.
I like the DDP.
The Dan plan.
The Dan plan. No, I like the Dan poll.
Okay.
I clearly, if you listen to this show, I have no plan. But the Daily Dan poll is DDP. I actually think that sounds like a form of birth control, but whatever.
It's an old wrestler's name, Diamond. There was a wrestler called Diamond Dallas Page, DDP. That's what I think.
All right, well, very good. Anyway, if you want to go take the poll, watch the radio show on YouTube. Today's question in our inaugural poll, what is your favorite plan for Donald Trump? Mass deportation, economic reform, the end of DEI. Our first ever YouTube poll. Check it out and vote if you would. And what are people saying so far, KGB?
I saw one person I'm trying to find it back then, but they said, thank God Tennessee is open carry.
There you go.
Which is a damning point.
Mm-hmm. There you go. We're talking about illegal immigration here in this first segment because my bet is that more people in that poll will say that they're looking forward to mass deportation. But all of this going on at a time when the Democrats voted en masse, as you know, against the Lake and Riley Act. And the guy who came in to testify at the Senate hearings for the minority party, the Democrats, dude by the name of Adam Isaacson. Now, he is a human rights advocate. And he triggered Josh Hawley, the senator out of Missouri, when he said that migrant crime, believe it or not, isn't really an issue.
Her murder, her horrific murder at the hands of this illegal migrant who was also unlawfully paroled in the United States, her death not an actual issue?
It's a tragedy.
But not an actual issue?
Migrant crime is much less of an issue than U.S. citizen committed crime.
Not an actual issue? Those are your words. Her death, not an actual issue. I just want to get, no, you say.
Of course it's an issue. It's a tragedy.
So what do you mean by your post? It's not an actual issue, meaning we shouldn't be paying attention to it. Senate's wasting its time this week on the Lake and Riley acts that would address the circumstances of her murder.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, and you'll notice that's something that the left tries to do to dilute the discussion of illegal alien crime, right? You've seen this 1,000 times. Well, the percentage of illegals compared to the crimes they commit and so on. Well, no. Don't tell me about percentages and don't tell me about, compared to people that actually are citizens of America, because I've always said that the crimes and the murders committed by illegal aliens, it is like salt in the wound because they shouldn't even be here. That's part of the point, I would say, to the left and people who voted, the Democrats who voted en masse against the Lake and Riley Act. So don't tell me about percentages. Tell me about humanity and justice for those people and their families who are murdered. And Josh Hawley is absolutely spot on.
You're here. Who invited you to this committee hearing today, Mr. Isaacson?
The minority party.
Yeah, it's interesting. You're here as a spokesman for the minority party. I just want to make sure the record's clear on this. The spokesman for the minority party is advising the Senate that the Lake and Riley Act is a bad idea and we ought to stop it. The spokesman for the minority party is saying that Lake and Riley's death and migrant crime is not an actual issue.
Not an actual issue. That's what he wrote. One of the things that we're finding out, and we certainly did find out over the last 4 years, is what the Democrat Party stands for. And it has been disastrous, not only for them as a party, but also for America. We'll talk more about this. Also coming up straight ahead at 5:35, you've got to hear this tone-deaf Kamala Harris audio. It is straight ahead, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It is 5:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We'll get you a weather forecast and a traffic report here shortly. Well, a possible new light on the horizon for TikTok. as the app enters what could be its final hours. We hear more from Nicole D'Antonio.
The Supreme Court says a new court ruling will be announced today. An unusual Friday decision fueling speculation it could be related to TikTok's future. The app is set to be banned in the U.S. Sunday over national security concerns due to its Chinese parent company.
President-elect Trump's cabinet picks once again under the microscope on Capitol Hill. This time, it's a guy that has quite a few bucks in his pocket. ABC's Andrea Fuji has more.
Treasury Secretary nominee Scott Bessent, a billionaire hedge fund manager, was grilled yesterday by Democrats who argued the ultra-rich are benefiting the most from the Trump tax cuts of 2017. Data shows more tax savings were given to the rich compared to the middle or lower class. And if the Trump tax cuts are extended, the highest income households will receive more than half of the benefits.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, we're hearing from the Homeowners Association of a neighborhood in Donaldson where residents paid to install their own license plate reader cameras.
There's one active police investigation going on with the camera, and it was set up. It was the same week we set the cameras up. So it's exciting to know that maybe we've helped the police get that much closer to apprehending suspects.
Channel 4 says the Harborview community installed those cameras at each of the 3 entrances to the neighborhood after a shooting at their pool, and an arrest was never made. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
I started work in the early 60s, and Tennessee had a deer stalking program already in place going, primarily from Clarksville Base within the Fort Campbell area. From that area, a lot of deer were stalked in Middle and West Tennessee, and then later on, we started taking deer from those areas and stalking other areas. So it was a progression. It moved pretty fast. The deer sometimes were faster than the stalkers were.
I bet that was pretty exciting trying to trap those deer and move them and know that you're making a huge impact.
Well, we wasn't all that confident.
Oh, really?
Because a lot of the counties had dog problems. You know, they'd be wanting to dog the deer, and it didn't hold up under that kind of pressure. And we had to go back in and restock. And there was a lot of different types of law enforcement work that had to be done.
I hear you.
And the officers did a good job. And we talked to a lot of the judges, and they clamped down pretty hard on somebody poaching deer out there. Back then, we only put out 15 or 20 deer. It was critical. In fact, at that time, it could cost you your truck.
Yeah. It's an amazing success story. You hear folks saying, well, we didn't see a deer when I was a kid, and now you just have to walk out your back door and you got in a subdivision grazing or driving down the interstate highways or whatever, you see a deer just about every day.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if we're too efficient.
Some folks say back in the good old days, but I don't know. Right now, hunting and fishing is really good.
Well, area roadways continue to look very well in very good shape. We don't have any accidents or breakdowns that are disrupting traffic thus far this morning. We've got traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.536, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Hope you're doing well. So glad that it's Friday. I don't know about you, but it's been a long week. It's been a long 4 years, as a matter of fact. So Sunday into Monday, really looking forward to that show as President-elect Donald Trump will be taking the oath of office. By the way, remember that our own Brian Wilson will be there, and he'll be on with Nashville's Morning News covering all the latest. We'll have everything from Washington, D.C. with Brian, and we'll keep you updated. Obviously, we'll be covering the president's speech and also his swearing in on Monday morning as well. Chris Hand, by the way, gets to have all the fun because all that drops during Chris Hand's show. Jay Harper, by the way, is in for Joan Jones and KGB here as well. I want to play this audio. First of all, I thought it was interesting that Kamala Harris has apparently gotten a massive book deal. They're saying this is going to be the biggest book deal that number one, a losing presidential candidate, but a vice president has ever gotten. Somebody told me, how much is it for KGB?
So the Daily Mail reported that Harris could get up to $20 million.
Are you kidding me?
$20 million.
Good grief.
For a book about losers.
Yeah, a big word salad book. You know, if you can't follow her speeches, I'm sure trying to read
do you know what Kamala Harris's book is going to be? It's going to be like one big long run-on sentence.
Yeah, one run-on sentence.
It'll start with a capital letter, and then it'll go for 300 pages, and then it'll end at a period.
No, here's what's going to happen. There's going to be just a lot of uncomfortable laughter in the middle of the book.
Sure. What does she have to say?
Nothing.
That would be my question.
Oh no. Middle-class family. She grew up in a middle-class family.
All that stuff.
Yeah, that's the entire book.
Anybody think she's going to tell the truth?
So the entire book is just, I grew up in a middle-class family. Like in The Shining, all work and no play makes a dull boy. It's that same thing. Grew up in a middle-class family just over and over again.
Well, here's the thing, is she's not going to say anything that is going to torpedo her chances at another possible presidential run or a run for governor. This whole thing is going to be a puff piece at $20 million. Who is going to buy this book?
Exactly.
Because you've got the Democrats that are pissed off at her.
What a
Republicans.
flop.
Yeah, Republicans don't care. And so I don't know who would find this interesting. I want you to listen to this audio from Kamala Harris, and she's got Doug Emhoff, of course, next to her.
Yeah,
I am fully aware that I am.
What are you going to say, Jay?
I'm sorry, Dan.
No,
I was going to say Mr. Emhoff is the most masculine man in America, right? Wasn't that what they were saying?
No, it was Kamala Harris's running mate who conveniently I've forgotten his name already. Kamala Harris's running mate? What was his name?
Tim Walz.
Tim Walz. No, it's you know what? On Monday that'll be our new poll question. Who was
more masculine?
Who was more masculine?
That's
Tim
a good
Walz or Doug Emhoff? So this is Kamala Harris.
Or Hillary Clinton.
Or
anyway.
Oh, she would win in a landslide. What are you talking about?
So this is what Kamala had to say yesterday. Listen very closely.
I am fully aware that I am the public face of a lot of our work. And so I have the benefit of running into people all over our country who thank me.
I bet you they're saying it in Spanish.
For
I bet you
what?
I bet you that's a lot of people saying gracias.
Oh, my God.
Probably like Tren de Aragua, walking up to Kamala Harris or MS-13, saying gracias to you and Senor Biden for letting us into the country and letting us just run across, these sanctuary cities and states and do whatever it is that we want to do.
She is so up her own you-know-what. My goodness.
Here's the thing, though, and I've often asked this. Do you think that she believes what she's saying? Do you think that she believes her own words, or is she just trying to convince the American people? Because people have said, we talked about this yesterday at the 835. I just think that Joe Biden lives in this other reality.
Yeah, delusional. Yeah, I could have beaten Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah. And so...
No problem, Biden. Here's your soup. Go watch TV.
Yeah, and so for me, I can almost excuse Biden, right? But Kamala Harris, does she really believe this? Because she knows that she lost in a flippin' landslide, right? I mean, that's the funny thing. She lost in a landslide.
And I will tell you, I am fully aware that when they are thanking me, they are thanking our team for the extraordinary commitment that you each have and as a team have to lifting up the American people, lifting up their condition, lifting up their hopes and dreams.
Well, what does that even mean?
Yeah,
because
really. Lifting up our debt?
That I was going to say, Jay, the thing that hasn't been lifted up is our economy.
Right.
The only thing that's been lifted up, let's talk about what lifted up in our world over the last 4 years. Illegal immigration, crime. What has been lifted down, of course, is our economy, and we've got all of the disasters of the Biden administration. You talk about our hopes and our dreams; they were dashed over the last 4 years. So I don't understand what exactly it is that she means, but she's talking about this like she's either tone deaf, she's insane, or she's lying.
And understanding through it all the nobility of public service.
The nobility of public service. $20 million for being an epic failure of a vice president and an even bigger failure as a presidential candidate. So how do you call that noble?
Do you think any of that money is going to go to the deficit in her campaign fund? We all know the answer.
That's a great question. No.
Hell
I'm trying to think of something snarky to say, but obviously not.
Hell no.
It'll, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see because, these political books, they generally speaking, I don't think they sell very well. So I don't know who would give her $20 million except maybe her liberal friends in the publishing business, I guess. But anyway, so that's Kamala Harris. Then you've got this audio from Joe Biden. And he was asked about what it felt like after he gave his speech yesterday, 2 nights ago, when it was his farewell address. And this is what he said.
You've served in government longer than any person who's ever served in this job. What did that feel like at the end of that speech? We were pushed out of the room as people were surrounding you, hugging you, and as that emotion was filling the room. But was there a sense of the release of a burden getting up from that desk?
No, but there was a sense that of serious concern. You've known me a long time. I really am concerned about how fragile democracy is. That sounds corny, but I mean, I really am concerned because you've heard me say it 100 times. I really think we're at an inflection point in history here. We're unrelated to any particular leader. Things are going to change drastically.
Yes. They are going to change drastically. Thank the Lord.
He was given the softest of softball pitches, and he still missed.
Well, but isn't that what the Biden administration has honestly been all about?
What a perfect ending, right?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about Biden, and I don't think anybody will ever be able to convince him that his presidency was a complete and utter train wreck. I don't think anybody will. And there's a certain percentage of the Democrat Party that also truly believes, that somehow his presidency was a success. But you know what I don't get? What I don't get is in that piece of audio, you have Joe Biden talking about how he is concerned that things are going to change. They're going to change dramatically and drastically. And, he's obviously called Donald Trump every name in the book, including, by the way, Hitler. And so there's a lot of things that they campaigned against with Donald Trump. And they called him a lot of names and so on and so forth. But this is what he said during that farewell speech about Donald Trump.
And I wish the incoming administration success because I want America to succeed.
So that's what I still am so confused by that. Because you say that America is at an inflection point, and I do understand that he said this isn't directed at any particular party. Well, obviously it is directed at a particular party.
Of course it is.
It is directed at Donald Trump. So on the one hand, they've called him every name in the book. They called him a threat to democracy. They called him Hitler. They kept talking about Project 2025, Agenda 2025, whatever it was, that Trump said, I don't even know what's in this thing. But they said that this was going to be the end of democracy. Well, if that's the case and he won.
And I wish the incoming administration success because I want America to succeed.
It's like he's contradicting himself. Like, does he, it's like Scott Jennings said, do you hear yourself? On the one hand, he's a threat to democracy. On the other hand, you hope he succeeds. Well, if you hope he succeeds, then according to your words, you are hoping that he destroys democracy. I don't get it. And this whole administration, to be perfectly honest, has been bass-ackwards since literally day one, and very confusing. And one of my favorite, and I mentioned this yesterday, one of my favorite Rush Limbaugh storylines was when he said that he hoped that Barack Obama would fail. And people called him a racist and all of these other kinds of things. And, Rush said, well, no. He's a socialist, and he wants to turn America into a socialist society. So, no. Why in the world would I want him to succeed? And people attacked Rush for that, but it made absolutely perfect sense. So, to me, whatever. But I don't think that Joe Biden knows what he's talking about. But you know what? Here's the thing. In a couple of days, I would love to say that it's all going to be over. It's not all going to be over, but because it's going to take a lot of time for this, for the incoming administration to fix everything that's been broken by this administration. But you know what? Day one, it all begins. Now, we had our first ever Daily Dan poll, Nashville's Morning News poll, and it's on our YouTube page. So if you go to YouTube and you take the poll, you can see the radio show, and you can take the poll. And our question is, what is your favorite Trump plan beginning on day one? Is it 1, mass deportation? Number 2, economic reform? Number 3, end of DEI? And so right now it is, who's winning? Wait, don't tell me. I bet that it's mass deportation.
Okay. Is it like by a long shot, or do you think it's slim?
No, I think it's a long shot. I think it's far and away the most popular.
67% have said mass deportation.
There you go. 67%.
We did forget one, though. Pardoning January 6ers.
Oh.
We did forget that one. Because I saw people putting that in there. Like, it's kind of like in the same with you can do that and one of these at the same time.
Okay.
Like you can walk and chew gum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, if you think, put in the chats, either text chat line or the YouTube chats or.
Is it too late can we adjust the poll? See if you can adjust the poll, because that is a legit question.
I can't. I would have to end the poll and create a new one.
My two big priorities is mass deportation and the J6ers.
So I will keep a look at the chat for both the stream and text. And if you think January 6ers pardoning is above these, let me know, and I will try to add that to the analysis, I guess you can say.
All right, very good. 5:50, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, coming up next, before the 6 o'clock news with Jay, I've got probably my favorite audio of the week, and it has to do with this accusation that Republicans are going to cut Social Security. Wait till you hear this audio. It is straight ahead, 5:50. Jay, what's coming up?
Yeah, Dan, we'll have grim news, unfortunately. An update on the death toll in Southern California from those wildfires. And also a SpaceX test flight, well, didn't quite go as planned. We'll have those stories and more at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
One of the benefits.
.54, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. So we all know, make sure my audio is up, if you would, KGB. So we all know that the Democrats have been accusing Republicans of wanting to cut Social Security and all that kind of stuff, which is complete BS. And I've debunked that. I can't tell you how many times. What the Republicans have said is that they want to make Social Security better because it needs to be fixed. There's a lot of issues with Social Security, and this was being debated in Congress. And Clay Higgins is a representative, and he was in the middle of this hearing about how to fix Social Security, and he wanted to point out that the wait times, if our senior citizens are trying to call into Social Security, the wait times are long.
Mr. Chairman, this is Social Security. For 1 hour, 28 minutes, 25 seconds. Phone number 800-772-1213. It's a number for Social Security.
He had called an hour and a half ago, and he is still on hold. And it's this awful, I mean, I don't even know what you call that music.
This is what our elders have to listen to. These are our elders, my man.
Yes, sir.
The reason they're calling, when I have a question for you, I'll ask it. That's the way this works. The reason our elders call for help is because they need help.
Yeah, and Higgins is absolutely right. And to be honest, what I'm saying is absolutely right, is that Social Security has a lot of problems. And so for President-elect Donald Trump, that is one of the things that he has vowed to improve is Social Security. I think he even said no taxes on Social Security, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. I was going to mention that.
That's exactly right.
Do you think that'll get pushed through Congress? Is that a realistic hope?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I hope so.
Got to do it in the first 2 years.
Yeah, really.
We'll have to wait and see what happens. Do you think they could afford new music, by the way, for the on-hold people? Because that was some brutal music. I don't even know what that was, but that would be enough to, that'd be enough to drive me nuts with this music. But here's the thing. Here's the problems that the Republicans have, of course, is that no matter what they do, because they've been talking about trying to fix, Republicans have been talking about trying to fix Social Security for a long time. And every time they go down that road, the Democrats accuse them of trying to push grandma over a cliff and trying to gut Social Security, which is clearly not the case. It's not the case by a long shot. And so part of what the Republicans are going to have to do is, quite frankly, they're going to have to really have a lot of strength and a lot of courage to withstand the onslaught of the Democrats and the media, because they are going to make all of these unfounded claims that they are trying to gut Social Security, when everyone in the world knows, at least if you're conservative, that no, that's not what they're trying to do.
It's just more of the typical Democrat scare tactic BS, you know?
That is exactly.
And the electorate didn't buy it this election cycle. Let's hope that continues.
Yep. No, you're right. You know what we should do on Monday's YouTube poll, Nashville's Morning News morning poll? Will you buy Kamala Harris's book?
I can already tell you there's going to be zero yes votes.
I already know that.
Unless you need to buy like something for your firewood to spark a flame. I don't know what else you would use it for.
By the way, in the news today, and we did talk about this yesterday at great length, so no need to regurgitate it, but Marsha Blackburn, the news that she may be looking at the Tennessee governor's office, that has now made national headlines, so that may come up in the news today. You know what? We could have asked that as a question, too. We did ask it on the air yesterday about whether or not you would give a thumbs up or thumbs down to Marsha Blackburn. Were you surprised? I'm going to ask this rhetorically. Were you surprised that there were so many negative comments about Senator Marsha Blackburn becoming running for the governor for the state of Tennessee? Knowing this audience, I was not surprised. Do I think that if she ran, she would win? I do. It is coming up on 6 o'clock on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It is 6 a.m. Happy Friday. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. There's a change in the weather. We'll have that forecast and a traffic update here shortly. A new update now on the death toll from California's fire zone. We hear now from ABC's Rhiannon Ally.
At least 18 people remain missing in the Southern California fire zone. 2 new deaths confirmed, raising the toll to 27. A break in the winds allowing crews to gain ground on the flames.
We now turn to space exploration. SpaceX is now investigating the loss of their spacecraft during a test flight yesterday. We now hear from ABC's Andrew Dimbert.
Just after 5:30 p.m., SpaceX launched the 7th test of its Starship rocket, which it hopes will one day carry people to the moon, even Mars. Minutes later, the spacecraft separated from the booster, which was able to successfully navigate back to the launch pad. But the company says about 8 minutes into the flight, a fire broke out and Starship exploded over Turks and Caicos.
Now back here in Tennessee, new rules for the Tennessee House of Representatives. Channel 4's Stacey Cameron says the state House passed new rules for when someone disrupts proceedings on the House floor.
This all goes back to 2023, when the Tennessee Three, Justin Pearson, Justin Jones, and Gloria Johnson, all got kicked out of the House for disrupting proceedings after protests erupted after the Covenant School shooting. So rules to silence disruptive House members were passed back then, but now the House is going even further, passing a 3-strike rule where the first time a member gets disruptive, their speaking time gets limited. If that member gets disorderly a second time, that member can be silenced for 2 days, and then if the third disruption comes from that member, they'll get tossed from the House chamber and sent to a remote room where they can still vote, but they won't be heard.
As for disruptions from just people in the gallery, those offenders can be banned for the next 2 sessions. And finally, let's turn to the current market numbers report. It's brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. They can be found online at beaconcm.com with the latest. Here's Jim Ryan.
The Dow Jones on Thursday ended its 3-day winning streak, slipping 68 points, but still closing above 43,000. The S&P gave up 0.2%. The Nasdaq Composite surrendered 0.9. Despite prices that rose at their fastest pace in 9 months, the Commerce Department says retail sales rose 0.4% in December. Economists say the strong jobs market still is fueling consumer demand. Your Chevrolet won't be tattling on you to your insurance company, at least not for the next 5 years. General Motors has been banned through 2030 from selling driving behavior and geolocation data gathered by its vehicles to consumer reporting agencies. Chicken soup for your pocket? Progresso is selling a lozenge that it calls soup you can suck on, with notes of chicken, parsley, veggies, and egg noodles. The hard candies are available online for the rest of January.
Now let's turn to the market numbers before the opening bell. The Dow futures now up 145, S&P 500 up 19, NASDAQ up 78.5. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. Well, we have picked up an injury crash now, West Trinity Lane at I-65, but frankly, looking at traffic cameras, it does not appear to be affecting traffic in a negative way. Other than that, well, looking good. Traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.607 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. Hope you are doing well. Maybe I'll open up every hour with the same statement. This is the last full weekday that we'll have Joe Biden in office.
It's also the last full show.
It's the last full show. No, it's not, because Monday will be a full show with Joe Biden.
This has to be 11 o'clock, didn't it? Had to be 11
o'clock. That's exactly right. Anyway, but we're all looking forward to Monday. Very exciting, and we've got all kinds of news to report to you this morning. Also, by the way, we have now been able to put up our first Nashville's Morning News poll. Going to try to do this daily. Today's poll, if you go to YouTube and you check out our YouTube video, we also have a poll up there, and the poll question is this, and we missed a couple, but what is your favorite Donald Trump plan beginning Monday? Mass deportation, economic reforms, or the end of DEI? You can also write in if you want, I suppose, the J6ers as well, and the pardoning of the J6ers. My big two, mass deportation and the release of the January 6ers. That's my two. If you want to go take the poll, please do. We've got a lot of people right now that are voting, and again, you can find the daily poll on YouTube. Just search Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, couple of things. First of all, the Senate confirmation hearings, they do continue. There was a guy named Scott Bessent, and he is going for Treasury Secretary, and he did an amazing job. Now, he is Donald Trump's pick, again, to be the Treasury Secretary, and he had some phenomenal things to say about Iran, about our economy, about Donald Trump as well. He wants to make Iran poor again, all the while making America great again. Here's some terrific audio from Scott Bessent, and again, Donald Trump's pick to be Treasury Secretary.
I would view that as we can raise U.S. production, we would squeeze down the bad actors, especially Iran. I think I'm right, maybe not in the exact numbers, but in order of magnitude. I believe Iran was down to 100,000 barrels of oil exports when President Trump left office. I believe that they are now exporting in excess or approximately 1.7 million. So through sanctions policy, I believe that we can, again, as I like to say, make Iran poor again, not the Iranian people, the Iranian government, and then at the same time, they have our domestic producers push that up with the highest energy standards in the world.
And clearly this guy is right. In going after Iran, I feel like we say this every day. Going after Iran would mean less terrorism across the world, and yes, it would make America safer at home. You know, yesterday we spoke to Victoria Coates. Great conversation. Find it on the podcast page. But we had a great conversation about Iran and the hostages and all that stuff and terrorism and so forth. But one of the things that she said as a foreign policy analyst for the Heritage Foundation is that the sanctions that Donald Trump placed on Iran, they're still there. The framework is still there. They just need to be enforced. Because remember, one of the big knocks on Joe Biden and Kamala Harris is that they didn't enforce Donald Trump's sanctions. Now, Donald Trump, part of this discussion is that he wants to drill, baby, drill. And that would help so many different facets of our nation and, yes, our economy. And Bessent knows that. Now, you know, this guy, he's clearly conservative, but he spent 10 years at Soros Fund Management. A dude worked for George Soros for like 10 years. But clearly this guy is on Donald Trump's side. I don't know if he's been red-pilled or what it is, but here's the other thing about Scott Bessent. He's gay. He's openly gay. Now, to some people, that's a big deal, but as Bessent says, it's not a big deal to Donald Trump.
Sitting here today is especially meaningful for me because this is my third try of public service. In 1979, when I was 17 years old, I wanted to fight for my country. My father had just experienced extreme financial difficulties. I wanted to attend the U.S. Naval Academy. I was offered by our congressman in the 6th District of South Carolina an appointment, but was unable to take that appointment because of my sexual preference.
All right, so he's married, has a couple of kids, and he's been open about it for years.
I managed to go to Yale, worked several jobs to do that. While at Yale, I wanted to do public service and joined the Foreign Service. I was told also not welcome. So sitting here today is my third attempt at public service, and I sit here knowing that President Trump chose me because he believes I'm the best candidate, not because of my sexual preference, not because Treasury secretaries with green eyes do better. And I think it is a tribute to President Trump that he looks at people as people.
You know, it's amazing because, as you folks know, one of the big knocks that the left will always say is that, oh, Donald Trump is a threat to the LGBTQ plus community. And there's absolutely no evidence to prove that. People have actually said that LGBTQ types will actually die under Donald Trump, which is ridiculous. Now, as far as Bessent goes, if confirmed, he'd be the first openly gay Treasury Secretary. It's not Trump's first gay cabinet member, though. Remember, Richard Grenell was Trump's acting director of national intelligence first go-around. But you have all these progressives. This is, you can file this under you just can't win. You've got all these progressives who are accusing Trump of tokenism with this nomination. So it's like, you can't win with these leftists. They scream that there isn't enough LGBTQ plus representation. There's not enough diversity. But then when someone LGBTQ plus is nominated, they say it's tokenism. Now, my bigger concern is that he did work for George Soros. He also hosted fundraisers for Al Gore. He donated to Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. But it's interesting because he does look like he's been on a bit of a red-pilling journey, if you will. Details straight ahead. It is 6:15. Time to check the roads on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. .6:15 on Nashville's Morning News. As far as your weather goes, it's going to be a high of 57 today. We're going to have rain overnight tonight. It's going to be freezing by next week. It'll warm up a little bit on Sunday, of course, but then by Monday morning, it is going to be really, really cold. We've got your complete forecast coming up at 6:30 right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here, finally a Friday, talking about the Senate confirmation hearings of one Scott Bessent for Treasury Secretary. I didn't watch all of it. I did watch some of it because, frankly, I have no life. And so I'm sitting there all day watching these various confirmation hearings. And I do find them fascinating. But his ideas are spot on. And I was just talking about how he worked for 10 years for George Soros. Now, I will tell you that for me, George Soros is, quite frankly, evil. I mean, he is part of the evil empire. I really do believe that. But Bessent, as I mentioned, He also hosted fundraisers for Al Gore. He donated to Hillary Clinton, Obama as well. But it looks like when Donald Trump came around, Scott Bessent changed his mind. He changed his ways. He donated big time to Donald Trump's campaign and also held fundraisers for him. But his ideas, at least to me, he's very spot on because he's made mention several times his worry about our crazed spending and, of course, the spending of the Biden administration.
To be clear, this is one of the things that got me out from behind my desk and my quiet life in this campaign was the thought that this spending is out of control. And I am concerned because several times the Treasury of the United States has been called upon to save the nation, whether it was the Civil War, the Great Depression, World War II, or the recent COVID epidemic. Treasury, along with full government and Congress, has used its borrowing capacity to save the Union, to save the world, and to save the American people. And what we currently have now, we would be hard-pressed to do same.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Donald Trump spent a lot of money in the first term. The other problem the president-elect is going to have is that it's going to cost a boatload of money for this mass deportation. I get it. You get it. Remember what Tom Homan said when Homan said, can you put a price on national security? And the answer to that question is no, you really can't. The problem that Trump is going to face, and we'll talk a little bit more about this here in a bit, but one of the big problems that Donald Trump is going to face is that the cost is going to become even more to deport all of these folks because the Democrats are going to do everything they can to block him at every turn. That's a story that, you well know. By the way, coming up right before the news with Jay Harper, Scott Bessent versus Bernie Sanders. Oh, my Lord. I cannot wait to play this for you. That is coming up right before the news here on WTN. But, one of the things that we're talking about with all of these confirmation hearings is the nastiness of the left. And yesterday I spent some good amount of time with Adam Schiff, how his questioning of AG, Trump's AG pick, Pam Bondi, was especially petty. It was especially nasty. And I believe, and many people believe, that Pam Bondi absolutely crushed Adam Schiff. But a lot of people are now accusing Adam Schiff of hypocrisy, not a real shock, including Jake Tapper. The Democrats, of course, screaming about Robert Hur's special counsel report on Joe Biden and how he, Joe Biden, elderly man, failing memory and so forth. And a lot of people questioning, why didn't anybody go after Biden for mishandling classified documents like they did Donald Trump?
Democrats, including you, were relentlessly harsh against special counsel Robert Hur for making an observation that proved pretty accurate about how Joe Biden might appear to a jury as a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
I was critical of that for good reason, and that is you don't put gratuitous personal observations like that in a prosecutorial memo. You just don't. And it was done for a political reason.
No, it wasn't.
So it's not that, everyone, including special counsels, necessarily follow DOJ policy the way I believe they should. And when they don't, I call it out.
Yeah, and actually Tapper called out Adam Schiff on that.
I think we can move on, but I think Robert Hur would say he needed to explain why he wasn't going to prosecute President Biden for what he thought was a violation of the law. But let's move on from that subject.
Well, yeah, because Adam Schiff clearly has no answer to his hypocrisy. But, I think we all have come to expect, we all know what to expect from Adam Schiff. And oftentimes it is based in hypocrisy. It is based on Trump derangement syndrome. And Jay Tapper is absolutely right. The reason why Hur had to justify not going after Biden with any charges is because Joe Biden was absolutely, in my opinion, riddled with dementia. 620 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mattis here. Finally, a Friday. You know, I always recommend Mark Spain here in Nashville because I trust that they'll sell your home hassle-free with a strong all-cash offer. Now, they've been helping homeowners sell their homes for nearly 30 years now, and they've served over 58,000 families. And with all those clients, Mark Spain Real Estate is the #1 most reviewed real estate company in America. And with those reviews, they've got over 12,500 five-star reviews. Now, that means that you can trust my friends at Mark Spain Real Estate to sell your home fast and for maximum profit and, of course, the least amount of hassle. That is the guaranteed offer. Now, there's a reason they've got so much success. It is that guaranteed offer, a quick sale and maximum profit. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out when you call 855-299-SOLD. Get that guaranteed offer on your home today. 855-299-SOLD. Online anytime. Find them. MarkSpain.com and start packing. It is 621 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Jay Harper's in for Joan Jones. Jay, what's coming up?
Yes, sir, Dan. An update on the Gaza peace deal. Things are looking up in that regard. And we'll also have the latest on the trial in the deadliest human smuggling event in U.S. history. We'll have those stories coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Thank you, Christy. 625, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Dan Mandis here. You know, my entire life, I've dealt with the hassles of glasses and contacts. And as I've gotten older, my eyesight has sadly gotten worse and worse. Issues driving at night, reading small fonts and halos around lights. It really is frustrating, and I can't keep living like this. I can't keep working like this. And that's why I'm so thankful to have found Dr. Horn and the team at Vision for Life. Now, they've helped thousands take control of their vision. I'm excited now to be one of them. After discussing lens replacement with Dr. Horn and how the procedure can correct both near and far vision while eliminating cataracts for good, I knew that I had to take that leap. I've got cataracts. Now, stay tuned because I'm going to be sharing my journey with you every step of the way. If you're dealing with the same struggles, you owe it to yourself to check out Vision for Life and see why they were voted Nashville's best ophthalmologist. Call them today. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. That phone number is 615-436-2020, 615-436-2020, visionforlife.com. .627, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I loved the testimony of one Scott Bessler. He is looking to be President Trump's Treasury Secretary. And there was a moment where Bernie Sanders was asking him about this comment made by Joe Biden.
Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms.
So obviously you've got Joe Biden, and obviously he's talking about Elon Musk, and he's talking about Donald Trump surrounding himself with all of these millionaires and billionaires. And so with Bernie Sanders, he did ask Bessler about that comment from Joe Biden and asked if he agreed with the president.
Do you think that when so few people have so much wealth and so much economic and political power that is an oligarchic form of society?
Well, I would note that President Biden gave the Presidential Medal of Freedom to two people who I think would qualify for his oligarchs. So
this is not a condemnation of any one individual.
There you go. I love how Bernie, he tried to recover from that. But yeah, don't forget that Joe Biden did give the Medal of Presidential Freedom to George Soros and Hillary Clinton, two people who, as Bessler said, would fall under that category. And ironically enough, of course, as I mentioned before, this guy, Bessler, he used to work for George Soros for like 10 years. So really, really interesting. By the way, E.J. Host is going to join us coming up next. Always looking forward to speaking to E.J. And please don't forget to take our poll. Find us on YouTube. Watch the video. Find the poll if you want to watch the radio show. But find the poll as well, because we've got our first Nashville's Morning News poll. What is your favorite Trump plan? Mass deportation, economic reforms, or the end of DEI? Two of mine is mass deportation and also the J6ers being released. What do you think? Find the poll on YouTube and just search Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's 6:30, and I'm Jay Harper. We've got the latest news for you, and we've got a changing weather forecast, and we've got some traffic delays we'll tell you about here shortly. Well, it's no secret it's been a devastating year for Israel and Gaza, but it appears light is now shining at the end of a very dark tunnel. Israel now officially declaring it has signed a Gaza ceasefire brokered by the U.S. and regional partners. It offers a path to end the war and bring back nearly 100 hostages, including 7 Americans. ABC's Jordana Miller has more from Jerusalem.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announcing Israel has officially agreed to the Gaza ceasefire deal. That after a day of last-minute disputes with Hamas were resolved with the help of the U.S. Netanyahu now convening his security cabinet, which is expected to vote and approve the ceasefire deal. His governing coalition expected to do the same. Netanyahu insisting the ceasefire will begin Sunday. We'll see 3 Israeli hostages released and Gazans rejoicing in the first quiet in over 15 months.
Back here in the U.S., a Texas truck driver indicted in the deadliest human smuggling event in U.S. history. He's pleaded guilty for his involvement. ABC's Jim Ryan has the update.
The scene inside a tractor trailer found parked alongside a San Antonio road in June of 2022 was horrific, according to U.S. Attorney Jaime Esparza.
As temperatures rose, the people trapped inside screamed and banged on the walls for help.
53 of the 67 men, women, and children in the trailer would die. Now the driver of the truck, Homero Somarano Jr., has entered a guilty plea. He'll learn his sentence in April. The 48-year-old could get life in prison.
Let's get to the stock futures in our market numbers report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. They're online at beaconcm.com. Before the opening bell, Dow futures up 162, the S&P 500 up 21 1/4, and the Nasdaq up 91 1/2. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Thank you, Jay. 6:32, Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Jay, of course, in for Joan Jones. And I think you need a pole barn in your life. A pole barn from Stoltz Co. Now, it could increase the value of your land big time, and you can use it as anything. It can be a garage. It can be an event space. It can be an equestrian building. You can live in it. We call those barn dominiums. But here's the deal. No matter what you use your pole barn from Stoltz Co. for, it is going to be well built. It's going to be flexible. And it's going to stand the test of time. You can also, by the way, plan ahead and build your retirement home. This is why I love Stoltz Co., because they can help you out in so many different ways. Find them. They are the premier pole barn builders here in the state of Tennessee. Find them online. Their website, Stoltz Co., tell them Dan told you to reach out. STOLTZCO, StoltzCo.com, 615-622-5992, 615-622-5992 for Stoltz Co. You can also check them out on their Facebook and Instagram pages as well. Just see their work. You'll be amazed at what you can do with a pole barn from Stoltz Co. Again, 615-622-5992, StoltzCo.com.
Well, we are seeing a number of problems now. The HOV lane blocked in Murfreesboro. This would be 24 westbound just past Medical Center Parkway, and it is backed up like, well, it's bad. 65 northbound, the off-ramp to Trinity Lane is blocked due to a crash, and we've got an overturned vehicle on 24 westbound, the off-ramp to Briley Parkway, and that has got the right lane blocked there. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.636 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Hope you're doing well. Along with Jay Harper, who is in for Joan Jones, KGB Jeff Matlinoff here as well. Want to welcome on into the program EJ Host. EJ, always great to have your political analysis. And so many things I want to talk to you about. First of all, how much of because I know that you're like a political nerd just like I am. How much have you been watching the Senate confirmation hearings?
More than probably I ever have in the past.
All right. Yeah.
Pay a lot of attention to these just because I'm so darn interested in it. And it's not even the people that are nominated. I'm not interested in their question or their responses. I'm most interested in the clown show that the Democrats have become and their questioning of these folks that are, just there to answer real serious questions and about their job, about their qualifications. And you're getting really odd and awkward questions from people, like, did you ever have an affair? And, the sexual history, things that are absolutely not related whatsoever to the job that they are applying for.
Well, I was just talking about, I don't know if you were listening, but I was just speaking about Scott Bessent and how he was giving his testimony. And I find his journey interesting. Here's a guy that used to work for, in my opinion, the arch enemy George Soros, and he did fundraisers for Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, donated to those types of people as well. And now he's all in for Donald Trump. And I think he's emblematic of a lot of Americans.
Yeah, I think so too. And, it's not just that he's a Trump sycophant. He is in favor of the economic policies that Trump is bringing to bear. So it's not just that, okay, he learned a lot from, he'll say that he learned a lot from George Soros and from the firms that he was associated when he was starting out his career in his early 20s and 30s. But then, he's learned over the years, over the decades, what it actually takes to run a country, to, have a good, sound economic policy. And he could see the writing on the wall that Donald Trump has one. He has a plan that will get us to economic prosperity.
And I think from my reading, I have actually not seen a lot of Democrats come out against Bessent. So I think he's going to fly through. What did you think of Pam Bondi? I got to tell you, my two faves, Pete Hegseth and Pam Bondi, and need some audio here, KGB. Pam Bondi, this is one of my favorite moments.
Senator, first, I need to clarify something that you said, that I have to sit up here and say these things. No, I don't. I sit up here and speak the truth. I'm not going to sit up here and say anything that I need to say to get confirmed by this body. I don't have to say anything. I will answer the questions to the best of my ability and honestly.
Let me ask you.
And of course, we all know, I played the audio yesterday of Adam Schiff going after her, asking about, the possible investigation into Jack Smith. What about the pardoning of the J6ers? All of these questions that she can't answer.
Right. What's absolutely hilarious is I wish all of them would just look to these Democrats that are asking these outrageous questions and trying to gotcha. At one point, Pam Bondi says, "You're trying to get me in a gotcha question." Just look at them and say, "Are you serious? Is this really, you're going to use your time to ask me these ridiculous questions? How about you ask me about my qualifications, about my work history, about what my role will be in the Trump administration?" Instead, they're asking these silly questions. But I do think this. I think that the screeching, shrieking, absurd culture is that the Democrats are now is over. No one's listening to that anymore. Bernie Sanders going off, that woman, Hirono, whatever she is from Hawaii, just asking silly questions.
Crazy Hirono.
Yeah, and the shrieking from Kirsten Gillibrand of New York. That's over. They're a clown show. If you look at what social media is saying, people who've never watched hearings like this before but are now engaged and now paying attention, and they never watched these kinds of things before, what they're saying on social media, on X, on YouTube, everywhere, is, who are these Democrats? They look ridiculous. They look like, I saw one comment says, they look like mean girls, right? They're just bullies. And so I encourage, go ahead, keep asking these silly questions for now, because it's showing the American people, it's showing the media, even the media is having trouble justifying, even Democrat media, the radical left media is having trouble covering these things because the questions are so ridiculous and they look absurd.
It's like they haven't learned anything. That's the crazy thing. It's like they haven't learned anything.
Yeah, these types of hearings, I mean, we've seen, I joke almost every time that we see something like this. With Pete Hegseth, I said, every question was basically, Pete Hegseth, you suck. You've said sucky things. Everything you do suck. Will you continue to suck in the future? Like that, every single question is that way. And so, I find it comical. It's the best comic relief leading up to Monday, which will just be wonderful. So I'm not going to tell them to stop. I want them to keep going because it's showing their true colors and who they are, that they're not real bright. They don't have any substance to them. And all they can do is make fun of people and yell at them.
Yeah.
That's no fun. We're done with that now. That's so 2016.
My favorite Mazi Hirono audio bite is this.
And frankly, as Secretary, you will be on the job 24/7. You recently promised some of my Republican colleagues that you stopped drinking and won't drink if confirmed, correct?
Absolutely.
Will you resign as Secretary of Defense if you drink on the job, which is a 24/7 position?
I've made
now basically not. First of all, she sounds drunk. I made the point on she sounds drunk, but basically what she's saying, and the audience knows that I said this earlier this week. Basically, what she's saying is that if Pete Hegseth has a glass of wine, then he must resign, even if it's on a Saturday at an event or at home. He must resign. I mean, it really is silly. And of course, Hegseth said
this commitment on behalf of
Will
the
you
men and women I'm
resign
serving.
as Secretary of Defense
I've
if
made
you
this commitment
drink
on
the
behalf
job?
of the men and women I'm serving.
I'm not
because it's the
hearing-
most important deployment
I'm not
of my
hearing an
life.
answer to my question, so I'm going to move on.
What a clown show. It just, I mean,
Don't justify the question. Instead of, beating around the bush and everything, I really would love these Republicans to be like, are you being serious? Is that a real question you're asking me right now? How many in this body were drinking last night?
well, you heard the audio of Mark Wayne Mullins, right?
Yes.
Where he called him out. He said, how many of us, and I played the audio, but how many of you have, voted when drunk? How many of you have gotten divorced because you've cheated on your wives? Let's just turn it around. And I loved that moment. More with EJ Host is coming up next. EJ, coming up, I'm going to ask how much you think a book deal with Kamala Harris should be worth. It is 6:45. Time to check the roads on WTN. Weather today, a high of 57 and going to be sunny Rain tonight, freezing next week, though. Really, that cold air begins on Sunday. Your complete forecast coming up at 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. WTN EJ Host is joining us on the Newsmaker Hotline. So Kamala had a bit of a word salad yesterday, but also incredibly tone deaf.
I am fully aware that I am the public face of a lot of our work. And so I have the benefit of running into people all over our country who thank me. And I will tell you, I am fully aware that when they are thanking me, they are thanking our team for the extraordinary commitment that you each have and as a team have to lifting up the American people, lifting up their condition, lifting up their hopes and dreams, and understanding through it all the nobility of public service.
First of all, we could also do a poll on who sounds drunker, Crazy Hirono or Kamala Harris.
I was just going to say, talking about drinking on the job, right?
Exactly. But number one is, tone deaf. People really come up and thank you for what you've done for the country. Does she not know that she just was obliterated in the last election? That's number one. And as I said earlier, if people are walking up and thanking her, they're probably saying gracias because they're illegal and they've come into our country illegally. Of course, we all know about Tren de Aragua, MS-13. I could go on, but I don't know. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, I think she's just doing some damage control, and I can't blame her for that. It's been a tough couple of months, right? So I don't blame her for trying to put on a smiley face. You know, she's still having to deal with all the pomp and circumstance of leaving this office, which I'm sure she didn't think for a second she was going to have to do. So I'm going to give her a little grace there. That said, I can't wait until she's completely gone and we don't have to listen to those things anymore. I think that we'll all just breathe a sigh of relief when we are done with the Kamala Harris word salads. As for her book,
yes,
I think it'll actually be wildly successful if and only if she actually comes clean about what was going on in that White House. If she truly does an expose on all the things, I doubt, though, that she documented very much. I doubt she spent much time in the White House. I don't think she's going to have the goods, so to speak, to write a book that's worthy of a multi-million-dollar contract.
I don't think. Well, let me ask you this, because it's an interesting discussion. Because if she has any political future, then she can't really be honest about, Joe Biden talking to trees or how he was clearly, dementia-ridden. I mean, she can't say that if she also wants to have a future in the Democrat Party.
Right. But, I think there's a price for everybody. And if she's willing to accept that big check and walk away from politics, she could actually be helpful. Like, I'm not even worried so much about, we all know Joe Biden had dementia. We all know that he really wasn't running the show. What we want to know, what would actually sell books and get her an interview on every single show in America and beyond, is if she would legitimately come clean about all the things that she knew, right? How much of the office was actually being run by Jill Biden? What do we know about Hunter? You want to talk about showing up drunk on the job? What was that guy doing in the White House? We want to know who was actually in charge, who was pulling the strings. That would be an expose worth reading. I think that any publisher would be smart to take on that contract. That said, I don't think she has the goods because I don't think she was present either.
Yeah. All right. I've got literally 30 seconds left. Word is Marsha Blackburn is looking to run for governor. Your thoughts?
Yep. I think for a while everybody thought that Knox County Mayor Kane, I call him Kane, but Glenn Jacobs would run, but he put out an endorsement of her. I think she's got a really good shot at becoming governor if she decides to run.
Anybody else I know that Tim Burchett has talked about running, or at least a lot of people have talked about him running. Any other names out there from the conservative side that you think would run in a primary?
Oh, sure. There's plenty of names floating around. I think Cameron Sexton's name has been mentioned a couple of times. I don't know what his thoughts are on that, though. I think we'll see plenty of names emerge between now and campaign season. But I think you'll be hard-pressed to find somebody who has a war chest bigger than Marsha Blackburn and
it's all about funding. It's all about funding, and in my opinion, the game's being played behind the scenes. Real quick, EJ, how can people find you on Twitter?
Yeah, by all means, please go to X at EJ under the radar.
All right, EJ, talk to you soon. I talk to you again soon, 6:50 on WTN. Homeowners, it's time to start fresh here in 2025. Dan Mendes here, and Loan Pronto is here to help you take control of your finances here in 2025 by lowering your house payment and consolidating those nagging debts. Now, did you know that 9 out of 10 borrowers get a better deal by calling Loan Pronto? That's absolutely right. Now, right now, Loan Pronto has some of the most competitive offers for refis, debt consolidation, and purchase loans starting in the low 5s APR. So if your current rate is over 6%, don't settle for paying too much. Even if you're in the process with another lender, call my friends at Loan Pronto and lock in a lower rate today and close in as little as 2 weeks, often with no appraisal. And yeah, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. It is fast, easy, and hassle-free. Get your personalized Loan Pronto rate quote instantly with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees. Call them, tell them Dan told you to reach out, 615-499-5780, 615-499-5780. You can always find them online, loanpronto.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org. It is 6:51 on Nashville's Morning News. Jay Harper's in for Joan Jones. Jay, what's coming up at 7?
Yes, sir, Dan. Well, with all these out-of-control Southern California wildfires, a new threat is now rising in that area. And speaking of threats, a terrorist threat potentially found in North Carolina. We'll have those stories at 7 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
6:56, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You see what Trump did yesterday? President-elect Donald Trump is hoping to make Hollywood stronger than ever before by naming Sylvester Stallone, Mel Gibson, and Jon Voight, the actor, as special ambassadors. He said, "It is my honor to announce Jon Voight, Mel Gibson, and Sylvester Stallone to be special ambassadors to a great but very troubled place, Hollywood, California." Trump wrote on Truth Social on Thursday. He says, "They will serve as special envoys to me for the purpose of bringing Hollywood, which has lost much business over the last 4 years, to foreign countries, back bigger, better, and stronger than ever before." He says, "These three very talented people will be my eyes and ears, and I will get done what they suggest, and it will again be like the United States itself, the golden age of Hollywood." Hollywood's lost a lot of filming to Canada. That's number one. And they've lost a lot of filming to states like Georgia. I think maybe even in Tennessee. I know that there was some filming done in Tennessee as well. But Hollywood has lost a lot of filming. And there's a number of different reasons for that. One, there's like union issues. There's regulation issues as well. So I love that the president is doing this, not necessarily because I have any interest at all in wanting to save Hollywood, but it would be nice to be able to do things here in America as opposed to stuff going to Canada. Mel Gibson has responded to Trump's appointment of him as the special ambassador for Hollywood, which, by the way, I also actually find it kind of funny that Trump wants special ambassadors to Hollywood, kind of treating them like a foreign country. Gibson, of course, you know that he lost his house in a fire. He says, "I heed the call. My duty as a citizen is to give any help and insight that I can. Any chance the position comes with an ambassador's residence," because he lost his house in the fire. I thought it was funny. Take our poll. It is our daily poll now and on our YouTube page. And if you want to go, you can watch the radio show. And you can go to YouTube, find Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And there we all are in our glory. And we have now done an official poll. It's our first of our daily poll. What is your favorite Trump plan? Mass deportation, economic reforms, the end of DEI. You can also write in, by the way, your own. My favorite is mass deportation. And yes, of course, pardoning of the J6ers. Those are my big two. It is 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It is 7 a.m. and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got a change in the weather. The forecast coming up along with the traffic report. Fire crews in Southern California now warning that Los Angeles not out of the danger zone yet, and now the threat of landslides after fires scorched the earth in the area. Here's ABC's Matt Gutman.
Officials in Southern California sounding the alarm that the lull in those deadly fire conditions is only temporary. The fire burning so hot, it cooked not just vegetation, but also rocks and earth. Officials are concerned an inevitable rainstorm could melt mountainsides into mudslides. The National Guard preparing to fill sandbags.
While the nation's attention was focused on that Texas man who carried out the deadly truck ramming in New Orleans, a North Carolina man may have been planning terrorist activities of his own. ABC's Jim Ryan says a 29-year-old is in federal custody.
Alexander Justin White was known in online chat rooms as Suleiman Al-Amriki. A federal complaint alleges that not only did he try to make contact with terrorists,
Mr. White made or attempted to make some financial transactions in support of ISIS camps.
Assistant U.S. Attorney Michael Easley says White thought he was talking online with ISIS members. They were actually FBI agents who arrested him as he attempted to board a flight from Raleigh-Durham to Morocco.
Back here in Nashville, Channel 4 reporting a man was hospitalized after getting shot while sitting in his car on Dickerson Pike late last night in the Cleveland Park neighborhood. The Metro Nashville Police Department was alerted to a shooting at about 11:20 last night in the 800 block of Dickerson Pike. When they got there, they found a man with gunshot wounds and his car riddled with bullets. The man was transported to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The investigation's ongoing, and detectives, they're trying to find the suspects. And we are also hearing from the Homeowners Association of a neighborhood in Donaldson where residents paid to install their own license plate reader cameras.
There's one active police investigation going on with the camera, and it was set up. It was the same week we set the cameras up. So it's exciting to know that maybe we've helped the police get that much closer to apprehending suspects.
Channel 4 says the Harborview community installed those reader cameras at each of the 3 entrances to the neighborhood after a shooting at their pool. An arrest was never made there. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. Out in Bellevue, this is Interstate 40 westbound just before Old Hickory Boulevard. The left 2 lanes are blocked due to a stalled box truck, but they're thinking there may be a medical emergency there as an ambulance is on the scene. Also near the airport, a crash has the right lane blocked, 40 westbound just before Donaldson Pike. And finally, 65 northbound, the off-ramp to eastbound Trinity Lane, it is blocked due to a crash. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
7:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Hope you're doing well, along with Jay Harper in for Joan Jones. KGB, Jeff Malinoff, is producing, and there is a lot to talk about. Really quickly, because I do want to get to a number of different stories. Number one, and I'm pretty sure Jay had this as well, the Israeli Security Cabinet, they've now approved, Jay, the hostage deal, the full cabinet to vote on the ceasefire today.
Yes, we reported that earlier this morning, that the deal has been signed by the Israelis.
So when do we start seeing the, because yesterday during my show, this deal was in peril. And then overnight, I don't know when exactly they got back on track. But now the first stage is what, 33 hostages that we're going to get back? Is that what I understand?
Yeah, and they are hoping that Sunday is when all that will begin to take place.
All right. Fingers crossed. Thank you, Jay. Obviously on it, 7:07. We always talk about China and all of the different, need some audio here, KGB. Always talk about China and the worries of China. And so I was talking about this Scott Bessent earlier, and he is up for Treasury Secretary in the upcoming Trump administration. And so he, of course, is going through his Senate confirmation hearings. And he brought up something about China. I want you to think about this, because you got all these people who are freaking out about TikTok, right? And by the way, President Trump is trying to give TikTok a reprieve. From what I understand, he may sign an executive order giving TikTok more time to get their U.S. affairs in order. I think somewhere around 90 days. Will Elon Musk end up buying it? Who knows? But my point is that you do have people concerned about TikTok, even though the vast, vast majority of Americans don't really see TikTok as the threat that others do, or they simply don't care. But I want you to listen to what Bessent has to say about China and their hacking into America and our infrastructure.
As we saw from the December 8th hack by some Chinese entities into the Treasury, which was very serious, that was through a work-from-home software app. So one of the policies that I support, I intend to be in the building every day that I am in Washington, and I support a return to the office, which is against the current Treasury policy.
Well, yeah, we know that the current Biden administration, they've been out there signing deals with the various unions so that these people could stay home for like 5 years. And you just heard Scott Bessent say that China was able to hack in to our Treasury using a work-from-home app. Get their butts back to the office. Marco Rubio, of course, he is up for Secretary of State. This is very sobering. Now, and again, it's related to China. By the way, it all goes back to China. The evils in the world, George Soros and China and Iran and all that is affiliated around those three. But who is Iran selling their oil to? China, right? So there's that aspect of it as well. But we've been reporting on China. There's the spying, there's the stealing of intellectual property, there's the hacking, all of that. But this is very sobering. This is something that I've actually spoken to Senator Marsha Blackburn about and Bill Hagerty many times. And that is how China, they've got their tentacles in literally everything that the United States does.
If we stay on the road we're on right now, in less than 10 years, virtually everything that matters to us in life will depend on whether China will allow us to have it or not. Everything from the blood pressure medicine we take to what movies we get to watch and everything in between, we will depend on China for it. They have come to dominate the critical mineral industry supplies throughout the world. Everywhere in the world, they've now established critical mineral rights. Even those who want to see more electric cars, no matter where you make them, those batteries are almost entirely dependent on the ability of the Chinese and the willingness of the Chinese Communist Party to produce it and export it to you. So if we don't change course, we are going to live in a world where much of what matters to us on a daily basis, from our security to our health, will be dependent on whether the Chinese allow us to have it or not. That's an unacceptable outcome.
Absolutely. And listen, Marco Rubio certainly has his critics within the conservative movement. But he's right about China. He is absolutely right about China. By the way, do you know who is set to go through his confirmation hearings today? Tom Homan. Oh, can you imagine how that's going to go with, these weak-kneed, willy-nilly, hand-wringing Democrats on illegal immigration? That's going to be one to watch. So I might pop the popcorn on that one and watch Tom Homan. Kristi Noem is also up for her confirmation hearings. You think they're going to bring up the shot dog? Remember when she shot the dog, right? That whole thing with the book? I wonder if they'll bring up the shot dog. We're talking to E.J. Haas about how they keep asking these questions that are, depending on who they're talking to, but completely irrelevant to the task at hand. We were talking earlier about all of these various Senate confirmation hearings, including Pam Bondi, where they were asking her all kinds of irrelevant questions. Same with Pete Hegseth. We'll see what they say to Stephen Miller, who is also very controversial. So you've got Tom Homan, Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller, in case you don't know, he is an absolute hawk on illegal immigration. And so I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say as well. And according to our poll, today is the first day of our Nashville's Morning News daily official poll, and we asked the question: which do you like most? Which is your favorite Donald Trump plan? Mass deportation, economic reforms, or the end of DEI? And by and large, most everybody is saying mass deportation. KGB, what is the current percentages?
All right, so we have 165 votes. I think that's a good number for our first poll. So we have end of DEI is at 17%.
Okay.
Economy reform, 16%. Mass deportation, 67%.
All right, there you go. So you've got Tom Homan and Stephen Miller, two illegal immigration hawks. They're going to be going in clearly with not only our poll, but also polls nationwide that show that the American people absolutely want not only mass deportation, illegal aliens deported, but most certainly where they start with the really, really bad guys. And speaking of really, really bad guys, coming up at 7:35, I've got the craziest stories that you're going to hear regarding Biden's DOJ and how they continue, with just a couple of days left, they continue to hoist a very proud middle finger at the American people. Details straight ahead. Got a lot more, including a guy by the name of Scott Turner for HUD Secretary. Going to talk about that and a whole lot more straight ahead. It is Nashville's Morning News. Time to check the roads on WTN. Thank you very much. As far as your weather for today, enjoy the somewhat warmer weather while it lasts. Today, a high of 57. Going to have some rain tonight. Going to be okay on Saturday, but then the really cold weather begins Sunday night into Monday and Tuesday. It's going to be really, really cold. So appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Your official forecast is coming up at 7:30. So the confirmation hearings do continue. And a guy, a really interesting guy, his name is Scott Turner. And he used to be an NFL player, apparently. And there's a lot of great stories that we're hearing. Now, the thing about these confirmation hearings, there's some that are grabbing headlines, like Pam Bondi and so forth, and Pete Hegseth, but others not so much. But there are moments worth noting, like the confirmation of Donald Trump's pick for HUD Secretary. Again, his name is Scott Turner. And Elizabeth Warren was asking about federal funding for affordable housing. Listen to this.
Do you support additional federal investment in programs so that we can lower the cost of building affordable housing?
As you said, there are many factors to why housing is so expensive now. And I believe first we have to get our fiscal house in order in our country. Interest rates are at an all-time high. Inflation is at an all-time high.
Fair enough, Mr. Turner, but
Yes, ma'am.
I'd just like to focus because it is a big problem, and I'm sorry to interrupt.
Don't let him finish. Don't let him finish, Pocahontas. Don't let him finish. What he's saying is that HUD is full of wasteful spending. HUD is full of mismanagement. And that's what he's trying to say. He's trying to say not only HUD, but also America's fiscal house needs to be in order. You know, this whole yes or no thing, both sides do it. But some of these questions, they do deserve thoughtful answers. And he's right. Scott Turner is right. Our own financial house does need to be in order. You get that in order, and we might see costs of homes go down because, you know, it's all about affordable housing, right? So first of all, and I'm just going to bullet point here, but Biden's inflation meant that interest rates skyrocketed, right? That meant the cost of buying a home skyrocketed as well. You get the economy in order, and things will improve. That's number one. Allow Donald Trump to deregulate and drill, baby, drill. That will also improve the economy. That will also help people afford homes. Allow businesses to thrive so that they can make money, so that they can do research, and so that they can invest in product and people. That will spur the job market and help wages rise. And yes, I'll say it for all of us. Deport all of the illegal aliens, and guess what? You deport all of those illegal aliens, and suddenly there's more housing available. So it's not a yes or no answer, except to say yes, you get our financial house in order as far as our economy goes, and guess what? That, theoretically anyway, will help the affordable housing problem.
I just want to make sure I understand. Do you support additional federal investment in programs so that we can lower the cost of building affordable housing?
Thank you, Senator Warren. What I do support is maximizing the budget that we do have and making sure that the money.
So is that a no to additional investments?
I love that. I love that voice of concern. Did you hear that voice of concern? Is that a no to additional investments?
Sure that the money.
So is that a no to additional investments?
Here's what I would say if I were Scott Turner. What I would say is, yeah, what I just said. Let's get the economic house in order here in America. That's number one. And number two, let's take a good long look at HUD. And let's look at their management or mismanagement of the billions of dollars that they're getting right now. And are they spending that money effectively? It is 7:20 on Nashville's Morning News. Super text line is open, 615-737-9986. By the way, coming up right before the news with Jay Harper in for Joan Jones, this dude, Scott Turner, he absolutely dunks on Elizabeth Warren. And I cannot wait to play that audio for you. Coming up right before the news on WTN. Dan Mandis here, and here we are in 2025. What big events do you have planned? Whether it's a big corporate event or a family reunion, maybe a wedding, a birthday party at your home, Nashville Tent and Awning. They can help you with an incredible enclosure that can be installed anywhere. Now, they've been around since, listen to this, 1884. Now, Nashville Tent and Awning, they are a Nashville institution, and they've worked with the likes of the Titans, Vanderbilt, and the Grand Ole Opry. Now, they're one of the top companies in Nashville, so I want you to think about your backyard. You can actually extend your living space with a backyard enclosure so that you can enjoy it even right here in the wintertime when it's really cold. If you have an event for work coming up, they can help you there as well with a tent or enclosure, and they've got awnings for any style of building that's going to help improve the look and the feel of your home or office. I love this company and what they can do for you. Nashville Tent and Awning. Get some visuals and check it all out at their website, NTACO. It's like N-Taco. NTACO.com. Nashville Tent and Awning, 615-329-3701. Tell them Dan told you to reach out, 615-329-3701. Solid craftsmanship built to last since 1884. Nashville Tent and Awning. It is 7:21. Jay Harper, what's coming up in the news at 7:30?
Yes, sir, Dan. Israel indicating this Gaza ceasefire deal is set to move forward. We'll have the latest. And President Biden, well, he's got that pardon pen out again. We'll have those stories and more at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I started work in the early 60s, and Tennessee had a deer stalking program already in place going, primarily from Clarksville Base within the Fort Campbell area. From that area, a lot of deer were stalked in Middle and West Tennessee, and then later on, we started taking deer from those areas and stalking other areas. So it was a progression. It moved pretty fast. The deer sometimes were faster than the stalkers were.
I bet that was pretty exciting trying to trap those deer and move them and know that you're making a huge impact.
Well, we wasn't all that confident.
Oh, really?
Because a lot of the counties had dog problems. You know, they'd be wanting to dog the deer, and it didn't hold up under that kind of pressure. And we had to go back in and restock. And there was a lot of different types of law enforcement work that had to be done.
I hear you.
And the officers did a good job. And we talked to a lot of the judges, and they clamped down pretty hard on somebody poaching deer out there. Back then, we only put out 15 or 20 deer. It was critical. In fact, at that time, it could cost you your truck.
Yeah. It's an amazing success story. You hear folks saying, well, we didn't see a deer when I was a kid, and now you just have to walk out your back door and you got in a subdivision grazing or driving down the interstate highways or whatever, you see a deer just about every day.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if we're too efficient.
Some folks say back in the good old days, but I don't know. Right now, hunting and fishing is really good.
$7:25, Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Dan Mandis here. You know, people who watch the WTN TV, they notice me squinting all the time. My entire life, I've dealt with the hassle of glasses and contacts. And as I've gotten older, my eyesight has been getting worse and worse. I've got issues driving at night, reading small fonts on the computer, halos around lights, the whole thing. It is really frustrating, and it does impact my job. Now, that's why I am so thankful to have found Dr. Horn and the team at Vision for Life. They've helped thousands of people just like me and just like you, take control of their vision. I'm now excited to be one of them. If you're dealing with the same issues, you need to call Dr. Horn. Now, after discussing lens replacement with Dr. Horn and how the procedure can correct both near and far vision while eliminating cataracts for good, I did know that I had to take that leap. Now, stay tuned, as I'm going to be sharing my journey with you every step of the way. If you're dealing with the same struggles, you owe it to yourself to check out Vision for Life and see why they were voted Nashville's best ophthalmologist. Call them today at 615-436-2020, 615-436-2020, visionforlife.com. You know, the other reason why people should watch Super Talk TV is because people share my amusement at when I'm looking down, my hat keeps plucking the microphone.
Oh, I thought you were going to say because we have a Trump countdown.
We have the Trump countdown clock. That is still going on. The lawyers haven't told us to shut that down
No,
yet.
I got everything approved. I fought tooth and nail for that.
All right, very good. 727, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Coming up at 7:35, a major sanctuary city is now backing Donald Trump's mass deportation. This is a very big deal, and I think this just broke this morning, so details straight ahead on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Talking about Scott Turner. Now, this is a guy, former NFL player, and he wants to be HUD secretary, and he's going through his Senate confirmation hearings, and you've got Elizabeth Warren, and she's trying to get him to say, oh, yeah, we need to invest billions and billions more dollars into HUD for affordable housing. And the problem that HUD faces is they've got a lot of mismanagement and inefficiency, a lack of discipline, and they hate to throw Republicans under the bus, and I like Ben Carson, but remember when he came on board as HUD director back in 2017, he spent thousands of dollars on office furniture, and so people lost their minds over that, but it's indicative of the wasteful spending at HUD.
Well, it's a yes to maximizing the investment that we have and making sure that the programs that we do have are meeting the intended need and serving those that are intended to serve.
Well, I have to say that gives me real pause. You know, we just established that we have a terrible gap of affordable housing, and we have a program here that has helped close that gap. State and local governments, I understand, bless them, they're doing what they can, but they don't have enough money to match the scale of the problem nationwide. And what I'm looking for is a commitment that we're at least going to try to get some more help to the state and local communities that are trying to build affordable housing.
So his answer to that question went viral, and it is a great answer. I'm going to play it for you in the next segment. A lot to do in the next segment. We're going to finish this up. What Donald Trump does want to do as it relates to affordable housing, and big news on the illegal immigration front and mass deportation. It's all straight ahead. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's 7:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. A changing weather forecast and a traffic report are upcoming. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu this morning indicating that barring cabinet interference, the ceasefire agreement will go on, bringing dozens of hostages out of Gaza. ABC's Ian Pennell is in Tel Aviv.
Preparations are underway for the hostages' release, 33 in the first phase, starting with all women, children, elderly and the sick and injured. Among those set to be freed, 2 of the 7 Americans kidnapped and believed to still be alive. Sagi Dekelchen, a father of 3, and Keith Siegel, a North Carolina native taken along with his wife from their home. His wife was released in November 2023.
Well, President Biden at it again. New clemency action by Mr. Biden. ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers has the latest.
President Biden is commuting the sentences of nearly 2,500 people convicted of nonviolent drug offenses and serving what the White House says are disproportionately long sentences compared to what they would receive today under current law, policy, and practice. The president says in a statement that with this action, he's now issued more individual pardons and commutations than any president in history. But he signaled he's not yet finished using his clemency power, saying he'll continue to review additional commutations and pardons.
Back here in Tennessee, new rules in the 114th General Assembly allows the House Speaker to remove disruptive members from the floor to another room where they can still vote. They just can't be heard. Current Speaker Cameron Sexton says the new rules are no different than how people are expected to behave in court or in Congress.
Now we are trying to get our rules up to allow us to have more options at our disposal for those instances without having maybe to move to expulsion or use censorship, and then allow it to move into a remote voting aspect.
This all goes back to 2023 when the so-called Tennessee Three, Justin Jones, Justin Pearson, and Gloria Johnson, faced expulsion for leading a protest on the House floor after the Covenant School shooting. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Thank you, Jay. 732, Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Dan Mandis here. For my friends at United Structural Systems, we had all that snow, got some rain coming in over the weekend. You need to make sure that your home is waterproofed, because if that water gets into your basement, into your foundation, then you could be in for some problems. Of course, you know, that means that you could end up with mold and wood rot and the need for structural repair. Again, you've got to check your foundation for cracks and your basement for water leaks to avoid these perilous situations. Now, you want to stay ahead of water damage? Call USS, United Structural Systems. They are great at waterproofing and foundation repair. They've got over 30 years of experience in basement and crawl space, waterproofing, basement wall stabilization, and foundation repair. USS, United Structural Systems, their inspections are absolutely free, and they're not going to sell you any unnecessary repairs. They are simply here to help. I've been a customer of theirs for a long time. We guarantee our best. Call USS at 615-488-7855. They've got over 30,000 satisfied customers, including me. 615-488-7855. You can always find them online, USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com.
The accidents we were reporting earlier have pretty well been cleared out, and traffic actually looking pretty good coming into the city from 40, 24, and 65. We did have an earlier accident that blocked the right lane, Briley Parkway westbound at exit 18, but that has been cleared, and things again, as I said, looking pretty good this morning. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.737, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Going over some of this audio. I love this guy. Scott Turner is Trump's pick to be the HUD secretary. Used to be an NFL football player, as a matter of fact, for I think it was the Washington Redskins and the San Diego Chargers. And he and Elizabeth Warren are going back and forth because she desperately wants him to commit to more funding for HUD. Now, we already give HUD billions and billions of dollars, and it's about affordable housing. And so for the nominee, he's trying to explain to Elizabeth Warren, here's the deal. I'm not going to commit to giving HUD more money or asking for more money until HUD, number one, gets their financial house in order, and America's economy, once it's in order, then there's going to be a lot less people looking for affordable housing. But this is the absolute slam dunk that went viral. Because realize, a lot of these programs, they help elderly people, they help disabled veterans and such. But the point that he's trying to make is that absolutely we need to worry about the people that need affordable housing. But maybe what HUD needs to do is focus on where the money's actually going.
I do look forward to looking at the home program and other programs, but my point, there's record funding from HUD. HUD's budget is nearly $70 billion at this point, and we're still not meeting the need that we're supposed to be meeting.
Which might mean that we need
I think
more
we need
money
to take
there.
inventory
Let me,
and
if I
maximize the
can,
budget.
turn.
You'll notice she doesn't want to talk about HUD and whatever mismanagement of funds they may have been accused of, and they have been accused of. They have mismanaged funds. There's no doubt about that. And you could bring up the financing for HUD and $70 billion. And how much are we giving Ukraine? I think it's probably more than $70 billion at this point. So I love the people that are like, to people like Elizabeth Warren, there is no limit to the amount of money that we can give to all of these various programs. And it's like, okay, if you want more money for HUD, cut the funding for Ukraine. I mean, that'd be a great place to start. But you'll notice she doesn't want to talk about it. Instead of fixing the problems of inefficiency that are said to be within HUD, riddled with issues, as most of these government agencies are, she just wants to talk about more money. Now, remember, very quickly, remember what Donald Trump wants to do. He wants to, and this is what conservatives value, give a hand up, not a handout. Kamala Harris, remember this, she literally wanted to give away $25,000 for down payment assistance to homes. Now, we all said, well, all that's going to do is raise the price of homes, right? That's what happens. Trump wants to give tax incentives for first-time home buyers. Tax incentives for first-time home buyers. He's talked about easing up on the regulations to build, which would mean that it would increase the supply of homes big time, especially when it comes to affordable housing and building affordable housing on federal land. Another thing Donald Trump has said. So instead of just throwing money at the problem like Elizabeth Warren and the Democrats want to do, Trump actually has things that are not necessarily throwing a bunch of money at a problem, but instead some actual solutions. And with DOGE, they'll take care of, theoretically, hopefully, any inefficiencies or management problems that they have with their now record $70 billion in funding. By the way, Trump also wanted to implement work requirements for public housing benefits. Remember that whole thing? So if you get public housing, you need to work. You need to, at the very least, try and become more self-sufficient. But this moment really does personify the issue.
HUD's budget is nearly $70 billion at this point, and we're still not meeting the need that we're supposed to be meeting.
Which might mean that we need more money there.
Well, let's work on efficiency with HUD first, the economy to help people's own financial situation, then figure out if more money needs to be given to HUD.
What's working for the American people, what's not? Is it building more affordable housing or is it not? Is it helping the homelessness in our country or is it not? Is it meeting the needs of Americans that we serve or is it not? And I think we go from there to come back to you, this committee, and Congress say, hey, this is what we have found. This is what works and this is what is not working. This is what is efficient and this is what is duplicative. And so I think those simple principles will do very well going forward.
Now, I told you that he used to play for the San Diego Chargers. Did you know that San Diego's in the news today? This is huge. This is from the Daily Mail. Headline, blaring headline. California town famous for its migrant population takes a stunning step to back Donald Trump's mass deportation, the town of San Diego. One of California's most multicultural towns is considering a measure to back Donald Trump's mass deportation policy in a move directly contradicting Governor Gavin Newsom's pledge to protect migrants. And I think this is a great thing. I think that part of what people are seeing in California, obviously, is the perilous impact of illegal immigration. They've been dealing with the illegal immigration. They've been dealing with the crime. They've been dealing with all of these. And so the more that this goes on, the more that the people of California are going to see, you know what, maybe Donald Trump, maybe he's right about all of this. Now, all of us know that the president-elect, soon-to-be president, is right. But you know what else people know? People now understand that Joe Biden clearly weak on crime and illegal aliens. Earlier in the 5 o'clock hour, we got a lot of reaction to it. I'm going to retell these stories very briefly of some headlines where Joe Biden has done something absolutely abhorrent regarding illegal aliens and allowing them to live freely amongst all of us. Illegal aliens that have done horrible, horrible things. Details straight ahead, 7:45. Time to check the roads on WTN. Weather today, a high of 57 and going to see some rain over the weekend. Freezing temperatures are coming with next week, so you want to stay tuned. The top of the hour forecast going to give you all the details right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So what is Joe Biden doing and what has Joe Biden done? Well, he's really done nothing to protect the American people. And what he has also done is he is now allowed a Connecticut Parole Board pardons board. They have pardoned now an illegal alien, a migrant, who is a pedophile. And he even comes out and he says that he might reoffend. Yet this obviously progressive parole board is out there saying, you know, that's okay. We don't want you to be deported. We're going to go ahead and let you out, even though you're saying that you might be deported, because we want to protect you from bad, awful Donald Trump. This is from the Daily Wire. A convicted pedophile and illegal migrant was released from a Connecticut prison last month after his sympathetic parole board mulled how to best help him avoid deportation. Now, remember, that's what Joe Biden is all about, is preventing bad guys from being deported. So in Connecticut, this guy's been in prison for molesting kids. He's a pedophile, and they're letting him out, even though he said, well, I'm not sure that I can promise not molesting kids again. Guarino McGlory, 52 years old, was serving 5 years in prison for felony second-degree sexual assault against a child between 13 and 15 years old. He was convicted of sexually assaulting the child on March 11th of 2020. During his parole hearing on New Year's Eve, McGlory said he cannot promise he will not offend again. Yet they let him out. It is stunning. Dude has been here since the age of 11. He's from Haiti, and the folks at ICE, man, they are ready to deport him. But of course, Connecticut and the powers that be there refusing to cooperate with ICE, and they're doing everything they can to save this guy from being deported. But listen to this. Listen to this comment that he made, because they asked him, "Okay, we're going to let you out. You can't molest again, right?" He actually said, "I can't promise that it's not going to happen, because that's not always a thing. When you say, oh, I promise, no, I'm not going to say I promise, but I'm going to try not to molest any kids ever again." And he's out. It's crazy. An illegal alien sex offender that is now roaming the streets. Nobody has any idea where this guy is. I'm pretty sure, though, that he'll probably offend again. Another headline: Joe Biden's DOJ gives a sweetheart plea deal to a murderous gang leader who Donald Trump wanted to execute. We all know MS-13. There was a leader, a notorious MS-13 gang leader, who is admitted to involvement in at least 7 murders. Donald Trump wanted him executed. Joe Biden has now given him a sweetheart plea deal. That means that he'll spend a lot of time in prison, but he could actually get out, and they're not going to face the death penalty. This dude took a machete and a baseball bat and killed a couple of teenage girls. Yet Joe Biden and the Biden administration thought it would be just fine for Jairo Sayanez, 28 years old, to avoid the death penalty and life in prison, and he will receive a sentence of 40 to 60 years. Now, he's 28 years old, so theoretically, he could get out 40, 50, he could get out, by the age of 70. Think about that. Yet he's taken part or directly murdered 7 people. In his time running the gang in Suffolk County, New York, their branch was linked, again, MS-13, to several violent cases, including the murder of 2 Brentwood High School girls with those machetes and a baseball bat. That was in September of 2016. So now the question is this: what happens after Donald Trump takes the oath of office on Monday? Details straight ahead. It is 7:50 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here. By the way, since we are talking about illegal immigration, we have successfully, for the first time, put up our Nashville's Morning News daily poll. Go to YouTube, watch the radio show on YouTube, and take the poll right there on Super Talk TV. What is your favorite Donald Trump plan? Is it mass deportation? Is it economic reform? Is it the end of DEI? You could also write in maybe your favorites. My favorite, mass deportation, is number 1. And number 2, and I hope this happens, the mass pardon of the J6ers. It is 7:50 on WTN. Dan Mandis here for Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. They are your Rude Pro partner, and they're my partner as well. I love these folks, and I've been working with them for over a decade. Now, Busy Bee is always looking for ways to save you money. And here, in very cold January, some red-hot deals. Get a free air duct cleaning with the purchase of a new complete whole home AC, or get a free air duct cleaning package upgrade. So you buy the middle package, you are automatically upgraded to the deluxe. And they're also at Busy Bee offering a 15% off indoor air quality products. That is awesome. Save money and stay warm this January with Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Your satisfaction is guaranteed. So call him and tell him Dan Mandis told you to reach out. That phone number is 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833. As always, tell him Dan told you to reach out. The website, busybeehvac.com. 7:51, Jay Harper in for Joan Jones. Jay, what is coming up at 8?
Well, the party is about to begin. The pre-inauguration festivities are slated to kick off on Sunday. And so, what's the status of that TikTok app? Well, we'll have the latest for that. All that's coming up at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
$7:55, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, talking about Joe Biden and how he has saved the life of an MS-13 gang member who killed or took part or ordered in the killing of 7 people, including a couple of teenage girls. And Biden's DOJ gave this gangbanger, MS-13, a sweetheart plea deal to make sure that he did not get the death penalty. Now, you remember what Donald Trump said about guys like this, right?
We believe the monsters who murder children should be put to death. We seem to have quite a good agreement on that. These people murder children, and they do it as slowly and viciously as possible. We will not allow these animals to terrorize our communities, and my administration will not rest until every member of MS-13 is brought to justice.
Yeah, that is what Donald Trump said during the first administration. He wanted to have this guy executed. And now Joe Biden just saved his life. It is amazing. By the way, if this guy serves the lower end of his 40 to 60-year sentence, as I talked about, it will amount to less than 6 years for each murder he is admitted to committing or ordering. Now, in a statement to Fox News after the plea deal was announced, a spokesperson for the U.S. Attorney's Office confirmed to Fox News that this guy and his brother, who was also part of this MS-13 gang, were no longer facing the possibility of the death penalty, saying our office had been directed by the U.S. Attorney General in 2023 to not seek the death penalty if they were convicted of the capital counts. It's really just sad what this nation has come to under Joe Biden. Now, oh, by the way, one more thing real quick, and then I'll move on, but compare and contrasting Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Do you know that Trump had this massive crackdown on MS-13? And so this guy's actual chapter out there, I think it's in Long Island, that chapter basically is gone. They caught this guy and his brother, but that chapter is gone because of what Donald Trump did. That's the kind of thing that needs to happen. And that is the kind of thing that we will see. But let me ask you a question. How worried are you that there actually could be blood in the streets when mass deportation begins on the 20th, on Monday? Because if you think that MS-13 and Tren de Aragua and some of these other dirtbags are going to go quietly, no, they're not. These gangbangers, thanks to Joe Biden, they've gotten used to being able to get away with murder. And they're not going to go quietly. As a matter of fact, a guy named Victor Avila was on Fox News, and he's really worried that there's going to be some blood shed in the streets.
These individuals are armed and dangerous, and it's not like when you go and pick them up, they're going to, I think, go easily into the custody of ICE officials or other immigration officials. They're going to put up a fight because they're here for a very different agenda, and that's the caution that ICE officials and others will have to take on when they do approach them come here next week very soon.
Yeah, so there's a number of reasons why folks are voting on our YouTube page. If you want to go watch the radio show video on Super Talk TV, go to YouTube and take the poll. You can see all of us again in our glory. But you can also take a poll. It's our first of our daily polls now. What is your favorite Donald Trump plan? Many people said their favorite Donald Trump plan, mass deportation, economic reform, and the end of DEI, some of the other options as well. By far and away, people saying that their favorite is mass deportation. Got a lot more straight ahead. It is 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's 8 a.m. and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got a changing weather forecast and a traffic report is also on the way. Inauguration festivities, they are kicking off in Washington with a big rally Sunday to fire up those Trump supporters. We hear now from ABC's Mary Bruce.
Trump's major guests include tech billionaires Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Zuckerberg. The CEOs of Apple, TikTok, and Google also in attendance. And while Trump had invited Chinese President Xi to attend, the Chinese vice president we now know is coming instead. That is a first. Another milestone here. This is now expected to be the coldest inauguration in 40 years. Temperatures expected in the teens. Washington getting ready to bundle up.
Will TikTok remain available in the app stores through the weekend? Well, as millions of users await a possible decision by the Supreme Court as soon as today, the company is lobbying intensely to save itself. Federal law requires TikTok to be sold by its China-based owner by Sunday. TikTok CEO, he's been invited to the Capitol to attend the inauguration of Mr. Trump on Monday. Here's ABC's Stephen Portnoy with the latest.
The divestiture law passed with bipartisan majorities in Congress last year, but there are now bipartisan calls to give TikTok more time to find a non-Chinese buyer. The Biden administration tells ABC News it has no intention of going into court on Sunday or Monday to enforce a ban, and there's much speculation that President-elect Trump might direct his Justice Department to at least delay enforcement so he can try to work out some sort of a solution. But the law says a one-time 90-day extension can only be granted if there's a sale already in the works.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, we are hearing from a Nashville neighborhood that paid its own money to install their own license plate reader cameras. We hear now from Channel 4's Dryden Quigley, who's in Donaldson.
3 license plate readers now sit at the entrances to the Harbor View community, monitoring every car that passes by.
And then you have the light to make sure that people understand what's here.
It's a project months in the making after a shooting at their community pool started the conversation. Bart Smith is one of those behind the push to get them installed.
They've only been up for 2 weeks now, and even then they've only been kind of semi-operational. We're getting the power and the things right, and they're already helping.
Even in those 14 days, they've already shared video with police after a string of car break-ins.
It's exciting to know that maybe we've helped the police get that much closer to apprehending suspects.
Let's get now to the market numbers report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. They're online at beaconcm.com. Let's check out the stock futures before the opening bell. The Dow futures up 233, the S&P 500 up 40 1/4, and the Nasdaq, it's up 259. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. An earlier accident, 24 westbound near Waldron Road. The accident's been cleared, but we're still seeing quite the slowdown there around Waldron Road on 24 West. Once you get up to Old Hickory Boulevard, though, it does start to clear out. And we are still dealing with a crash down near the airport, Murfreesboro Pike at Donaldson Pike. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
8:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Dan Mandis here indeed, along with Jeff Malinoff, KGB, and Jay Harper is in for Joan Jones. Joan is off doing some stuff with the grandkids and so forth, so she'll be back on Tuesday. So you're stuck with me.
She needed a break from us.
Well, she did say that, in going to hang out with her very small grandkids, she said that she needed to hang out with people who actually had some maturity.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair assessment.
Anyway, but the good news is we have Jay Harper, and Jay is here, and we'll all be finishing up the show today. And then Monday, I just cannot wait for Monday. We've got Brian Wilson, who's going to be broadcasting live from our nation's capital, and he's going to tell us everything that's going on in Washington, D.C. I've got at least a couple of hits with Brian. Really looking forward to that. He's going to be with not only me, but Chris Hand. He'll be with Chad Benson and also Matt Murphy. So he's going to be all across the station on Monday. By the way, a lot of thanks to our friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. A lot of the things, and this is not a commercial, but I'm just letting you folks know, a lot of the stuff that we do and we enjoy and we present to you folks, we couldn't do it without our advertisers. And Busy Bee, man, those folks have been with us for years. Like in my commercial, I talk about how I've been with them as a customer and an endorser for, I think it's been over a decade now. So I really appreciate Busy Bee and all of our other advertisers. And we're looking forward, all of us, to Monday. What time is the inauguration?
11 o'clock. So
our time or their time?
Central time. It's noon Eastern.
All right.
So I'm thinking about this. I might give Chris. I might put the countdown for Chris on Chris's show because once it hits 0, it'll be during his show. I feel like but it's his call. Of course, we'll ask him at 8:35. But
do you know what I want to know? What plans do people have to watch the inauguration? Like I was actually talking to Amy about this, and I said, "What are we going to do?" Because it's a joyous occasion.
Like Super Bowl Sunday.
That's what it's like.
I totally agree.
I actually asked her, I said, "You're going to make me some little weenies?" Because I love the little weenies and barbecue sauce. So,
Wait, you put it on the grill yourself. She makes the sauce, you make the
whatever works. And I may actually break my vow for a dry January by celebratory drinking. So don't expect me
drink
to
a Diet Coke in honor of Trump.
Or I could have a Dangria in honor of, the end of the Biden administration, and at the very least, some sanity.
All right,
but I do wonder on the super text line, how are you going to watch this? Because there's going to be a lot of people. Well, it's MLK Jr. Day, so a lot of people actually have the day off on January 20th.
Oh gosh!
So I do wonder, are people going to sit around and have like inauguration watch parties? That's what we should have done, some sort of an event.
Yeah,
where we all could have just hung out. Oh, can you imagine? I think we're a little evented out, but I would have loved to have had an event.
Or just like have all the hosts just sit like at 11 o'clock or whenever it starts, all just be on the air at the same time, not even like just in the studio and just watch it together on the TV. Just something little like that.
Did you not hear me? I'm going to be drinking, but I'm probably going to be drinking like right when I get home. So I'll be nice and sauced up by the time 11 o'clock rolls
What's
around.
in a Dangria, though, compared to a margarita? Is there a special thing?
Red wine and a lot of cherries, young man. Hey, by the way, did you hear what Kevin McCarthy said about John Fetterman? I love this. Kevin McCarthy says that John Fetterman should be the leader of the Democrat Party. Need some audio.
The Democrats in the Senate are going to vote for it. Listen to Fetterman. I mean, Fetterman should be the leader of the Democratic Party if they ever want to win the majority again.
Don't give him any ideas, but that's a good point.
But they are so out of touch. I would expect the Democrats to talk like this a year ago, before the election. Have they not heard what the voters have said? Remember.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. And you know what they're talking about? They're talking about the Laken-Riley Act. And listen, I know that a lot of people don't like Kevin McCarthy, but the man speaks truth right there. Because Fetterman, he's been out there talking about all of this. What's the joke? Did he have a stroke? Is that what happened to Fetterman? Did he have a stroke? I can't remember exactly what happened. But I think he had a stroke, if I remember correctly.
I believe you're right. I know he was hospitalized.
He was hospitalized, and people were talking about, how he wasn't making any sense. And, the further away from the stroke that he had, suddenly he sounds more and more like a conservative, or at the very least, somebody who makes sense. He starts sounding less and less like a Democrat every single day.
Confirmed he did have a stroke.
There you go. But it was all about the Laken Riley Act, and that's what they were talking about. That was Kevin McCarthy and Laura Ingraham. And so I don't know if you saw this, but the Democrats voted en masse against the Laken Riley Act. And the guy who came in to testify at the Senate hearings for the minority, a dude by the name of Adam Isaacson. Now, this guy, Isaacson, is a human rights advocate, and he triggered Josh Hawley when he said that migrant crime isn't really an issue.
Her murder, her horrific murder at the hands of this illegal migrant who was also unlawfully paroled in the United States, her death not an actual issue?
It's a tragedy.
But not an actual issue?
Migrant crime is much less of an issue than U.S. citizen committed crime.
Not an actual issue? Those are your words. Her death, not an actual issue. I just want to get, no, you say.
Of course it's an issue. It's a tragedy.
So what do you mean by your
murder is an
post?
issue.
It's not an actual issue, meaning we shouldn't be paying attention to it. Senate's wasting its time this week on the Laken Riley acts that would address the circumstances of her murder.
So you heard what this guy said, and I myself was triggered by this earlier, where he says the guy who comes in to testify on behalf of the Democrats says, well, illegal alien crime isn't nearly the issue of the crimes committed by U.S. citizens. And that's something that the Democrats, I talked about this earlier, that's something that the Democrats tried to do to obfuscate what is going on with illegal alien crime. And to me, these crimes are twice as tragic because they shouldn't even be here in the first place. That's the whole point. That's what Josh Hawley, that's what conservatives have been saying for years, is that Laken Riley would still be alive today if it wasn't for Joe Biden, if it wasn't for Kamala Harris, if it wasn't for the Democrats and their open border policies. So yeah, Josh Hawley, he's a little ticked. And by the way, don't get me started on those percentages because there's a number of things at play. One of them is that you do have a lot of these illegal alien crimes that are perpetrated on other illegal aliens, and they're afraid to report those crimes because they're afraid that they're going to be deported. And we're not even talking about, I mean, in this we're talking about, the murder of Laken Riley, but anybody want to talk about all of those hundreds of thousands of missing children? And so as Kevin McCarthy was saying, these kinds of comments, it's like they haven't learned a thing. 8:15, time to check the roads on WTN. $8:16 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk. Weather today, it's going to be a high of 57. It's going to be sunny, I believe, right? It's going to be sunny.
Yeah,
And,
it doesn't rain until like 11 o'clock at night.
All right, so then you're going to have some rain. Bottom line is the headline for the weather, it is going to be really, really cold next week. So Sunday, heading into Monday and Tuesday, we are talking about frigid temperatures. They're talking about, what is it? Channel 4 says a weather alert, severe weather alert because of the cold. So we'll give you your complete forecast coming up at 8:30 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Playing you audio just because I do believe that it is great audio of Josh Hawley as he is going after the guy who is testifying for the Democrats as they talk about the Laken Riley Act, where they're doing whatever they can to prevent that from happening again. This guy, Adam Isaacson, again, he's a human rights advocate, and he said, well, Laken Riley, her murder, it's almost like he's dismissing the fact that her murder was, carried out by an illegal alien.
You're here. Who invited you to this committee hearing today, Mr. Isaacson?
The minority party.
Yeah, it's interesting. You're here as a spokesman for the minority party. I just want to make sure the record's clear on this. The spokesman for the minority party is advising the Senate that the Lake and Riley Act is a bad idea and we ought to stop it. The spokesman for the minority party is saying that Lake and Riley's death and migrant crime is not an actual issue.
That's what the man said. That's what the spokesperson for the Democrats said. According to The Hill, Senate debate on the bill, the Lake and Riley Act, has dragged on with two main hurdles still on the road ahead for passage of the Lake and Riley Act, which would require immigrants and customs enforcement agencies, ICE, to detain people who are charged, arrested, or convicted for committing acts of burglary, theft, larceny, or shoplifting. Because the dude that killed Lake and Riley, he had all kinds of priors. Yet they allowed him to stay in this country. So they commit a crime, get him out of this country. And by the way, you want some entertaining television? You know who is going to go up for their for their Senate confirmation hearing today? Tom Homan. Now that's going to be a barn burner, because he'll no doubt talk about the Lake and Riley Act and how that would have saved the life of not only Lake and Riley, but many other American citizens who have been killed by illegal aliens. And when you've got Democrats that refuse to vote for this, which is what happened in the House, it looks bad. You know what else looks bad? The California fires. And this headline: LA firefighters make a bombshell claim that they've been shorted thousands of dollars in salary as the fires continue to rage in California. I mean, this story continues to get worse and worse and worse. And I know that you folks know. I know. I can hear you screaming at the radio right now. Dan, who cares? We know Gavin Newsom sucks. Karen Bass, she needs to be recalled. And we know it's the Democrats' fault. But this stuff needs to have a light really shown on this. Los Angeles firefighters are claiming they are owed tens of thousands of dollars in back pay due to months of payroll errors, with some being forced to take out credit cards and loans to make ends meet. Outraged senior LAFD officials claim that colleagues have been forced to take out credit cards and loans to avoid missing mortgage payments, with some allegedly owed between $30,000 and $40,000. My Lord, that is absolutely heartbreaking. So we'll tell you more on that story and a whole lot more straight ahead. It is Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 8:20. By the way, that tells you a lot about those firefighters, because they are owed $30,000 to $40,000 in back pay, yet they continue to go to work to try to protect the people of California, knowing full well that the governor and the mayor and the progressive apparatus in California could give two you-know-whats about whether or not they can pay their mortgage. It is incredibly sad, but also says a lot about the firefighters in California. 8:20 on Nashville's Morning News. You know that January can be a time to clean, to purge, and to become healthier. Now, Zero Res can help you do just that. They offer you a healthier way to clean your home, and using Zero Res means that they use cleaning agents that leave your carpet cleaner and healthier than those other carpet cleaning companies. You know, when they clean, they utilize their ZR water technology. ZR water technology. That means that they don't leave any soap, they don't leave any residue, and no harsh chemicals. Now, Zero Res is going to clean and sanitize your surfaces without the use of detergents or harsh chemicals, which means that, yes, your carpet it's going to stay clean longer, unlike those other carpet cleaning companies. Now, I've been using Zero-Res for years now. They are number one in my house and many others as well. Now, right now, Zero-Res, they've got a great deal going on for listeners to my show. 3 rooms of carpets cleaned for just $99. That's right. 3 rooms of carpets cleaned for just $99. And you can celebrate the new year with 25% off of upholstery cleaning. So be healthy and stay healthy here in 2025 with Zero-Res. Restrictions may apply. Call them, tell them Dan told you to reach out, get that discount. 615-535-9376. 615-535-9376. Book online, ZeroResNashville.com. It is 8:22 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The Super Text line is open, 615-737-9986. Jay Harper is in for Joan Jones. Jay, what's coming up?
Well, Dan, some cool, moist air is moving into Southern California, but the fire threat far from over. And the Gaza hostage release preparations are underway. Things are looking positive in that respect. All that's coming up at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
827, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. Dan Mandis here. Chris Hand, I believe, is in the house. Have not seen Chris, but I have seen his coffee mug. So I believe that.
So, like you, he has trails of stuff just lying around.
Yes, he does.
I have actually spoken to him, so he is here.
All right, very good. Thank
Fear
you.
not. Fear
thank
not.
you, Jay. Yeah, because I ain't staying. And according to some of you folks on the super text line, you want me to go? Fine, I'll leave. Right at 9 o'clock is when I'm going to hit the highway. Actually, the super text line has been very friendly today. A lot of people loving the new daily poll over there on the YouTube page. If you want to take our daily poll, if you're just tuning in, what is your favorite Donald Trump plan? Mass deportation, economic reform, the end of DEI. So if you want to see what the radio station, what the radio program looks like, you can see me and KGB and Jay Harper in for Joan, and you can take our poll there as well. And enjoy it while it lasts with the with no sponsorship, because I have a feeling immediately they're going to, because they like to literally, if they could sponsor the air that we breathe in the studio, they actually would. So
I'm surprised they haven't sponsored your clothing yet. You have to wear like a T-shirt with a logo on it.
Nobody wants to sponsor this, trust me.
Okay, well, a hat. What about a hat? Like you'll be like, you look like the last pick in the NFL draft.
I would be the last pick in the NFL draft, as a matter of fact.
You wouldn't be drafted, Dan.
Wow. Okay, very good. You know what? I'm gonna get that flag hoisting sound effect, so that every time I want to hoist one to you, if you know what I mean, I'll do it. I'll have a little sound effect just for that.
Would we get in trouble on YouTube if you just did that? Because I think that would just be a YouTube exclusive. You can just do that.
Maybe we could. I don't know. By the way, most people, what is the current mass deportation is winning by far in our first ever YouTube poll. Mass deportation, economic reforms are the end of DEI. I mean, mass deportation was far and away the biggest. What is it now?
It's currently at 70% with 232 votes in.
All right, very good. With 232 votes. Very good. This is exclusive to Nashville's Morning News. In other words, don't give it to Chris Hand. Little treasonist. 8:30 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's 8:30, and I'm Jay Harper. I've got your top stories here. We'll get you a weather forecast and another traffic report here shortly. Cool air with some moisture has arrived in L.A. County, and it's helping calm the fire threat, but the Santa Ana winds, they're expected to be back next week. ABC's Alex Stone is in Los Angeles.
While the weather has improved here today, there are still efforts underway to find the missing and to find human remains. Urban search and rescue teams are using rakes to sift through burned-out homes. At least 18 people are still missing on the two big fires. 27 are now confirmed killed. Many were elderly or disabled.
On the international front, as the ceasefire agreement moves into place between Hamas and Israel, resources for the released hostages are being set up ahead of Sunday's start date. Here's ABC's Ian Pinnell. He's in Tel Aviv with more.
The hostages will be released over a 6-week period. They'll be transferred to the military and then taken to one of 6 designated hospitals with specifically designed private wings to undergo a series of medical evaluations and psychological assessments.
Right now in Nashville, Channel 4 reporting a man was hospitalized after getting shot while just sitting in his car off Dickerson Pike late last night in the Cleveland Park neighborhood. Metro Nashville police, they were alerted to a shooting at about 11:20 last night in the 800 block of Dickerson Pike. When they arrived, they found a man with gunshot wounds and his car riddled with bullets in front of Makeshift, which is a bar at the end of a strip mall there. The man was transported to the hospital, non-life-threatening injuries, fortunately. The investigation continues. Detectives are indeed looking for suspects. Let's go ahead and get to your market numbers report now that the opening bell has occurred. The report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. They're found at Beacon CM.com. Here are the opening bell numbers. The Dow Index up 330, the S&P 500 up 54, and the NASDAQ is up 300. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Thank you, Jay. And for Joan, 832, Dan Mandis here. Big news from my friends at DT McCall's. Listen, if you've been thinking about buying that gun safe, you've been putting it off, this is going to end at some point. Right now at DT McCall's, gun safes are sales tax free at DT McCall's. They are the largest Liberty Safe dealer here in the state of Tennessee because of their free delivery and setup. Now, other places are going to charge you $500 at least for delivery and setup in bigger models, $300 for smaller models. But at DT McCall & Sons, they deliver every safe for free every time, period, and no setup charge either. So check them out. 5 locations across Middle Tennessee, no doubt one near you. Save some big bucks right now on your Liberty gun safe when you shop at DT McCall's. Again, tell them Dan told you to reach out. 5 locations across Middle Tennessee. Carthage, Cookeville, Lebanon, Lafayette, and Franklin, always online at dtmccalls.com.
Well, about 20 minutes ago, an injury crash reported. Conference Drive, North Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. That's in the Goodlettsville area, working to clear that accident up. And we have an injury crash in the Bordeaux area, Clarksville Pike at Ed Temple Boulevard. And still the normal volume delays on 24 westbound in the Antioch-Smyrna area. It starts to clear out, however, when you get to about Briley Parkway. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.836, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Time for the cross with Chris Hand. Hello, Chris.
What's up? What's up? How are you?
I'm doing fantastic today.
Are you?
Absolutely. I had a really funny thing happen to me. Hold on.
What happened?
I'm going to tell you just in a second.
I want to know now.
We're going to have to wait like 3 seconds. Jay in for Joan. By the way, Jay, I'm just going to call you Jay in for Joan from now on.
Yep, okay. You run the show.
Jay Harper.
Jay in for Joan Harper.
Sure. And Jeff Malinoff is here, KGB. So, really funny thing happened to me yesterday at the dollar store.
Stealing gum?
No. 9963 sent a note on the super text line. You know what he said? Thanks for snubbing me yesterday at the dollar store.
You were snubbing the listeners? I just want to go on record. If you bump into me at the dollar store, I will never snub you.
So, okay, so anybody who has ever met me in person and recognized me knows that I love meeting listeners. I absolutely love it. I'm walking out of the dollar store, and this guy, a beer delivery guy, or delivering something, I walk by him, and to my left, and he says, hey, hey, hey. Wait, no, but hold on.
I love it.
He's got a Bluetooth on. So he's got this thing in his ear. So I didn't know if he was talking to me. I turn around.
That is so funny.
I turn around and I look at him and I'm like, is he talking to me? And so he looks at me and he doesn't say anything else. He's like looking at me dumbfounded, and I'm looking at him dumbfounded because I thought he would say, hey, listen to your show. But he said nothing.
But he did say. He said it by saying the hey, 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 hey.
But I thought he was maybe talking to somebody on his Bluetooth. Like, you ever walk, people around here.
Some people say that normally. People say this. Wait, hold on, one more time.
Hey, 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 hey.
So he was just doing that like in a normal conversation?
Yeah. Well, people say that. Like, if somebody calls you, sometimes they'll say, hey, hey. Actually, nobody does that.
Nobody does that, Dan. I'm going to stop you right there. Fake news.
So I don't know. I figure he's talking to somebody else.
That's
I start
hilarious.
walking away. And then he said, don't scamper away.
Oh, no.
I don't know what's happening. Then the lady from Dollar General starts running after me. Because I'm thinking, oh my God, now what?
What did I steal?
That's exactly
It was
right.
gum. You were right.
It turns out I left one of my bags in there. You ever do that? I left a bag in there. So I didn't. So 9963. I didn't intentionally snub you.
You were just all discombobulated.
I didn't. First of all, I remember this. He only said 3 hays, and it's actually, you just heard, it's supposed to be 4.
That's
what it is.
Maybe he should have yelled "turn the butter" as well while he was at it.
Turn the butter?
Oh, you don't remember this? Hold on.
No.
I was told when honestly, this is context. When I first started, I was like, all the yellow images here are all Dan, so this is you.
Churn the butter. That's churn the butter, not turn the butter. And do you know what churn the butter means?
No.
Do you know what churn the butter means?
Yeah, I'm aware.
Jay, do you know Jay in for Joan? Do you know what churn the butter means?
I know what it means literally, but in your figurative mind, no.
And granted, this was before KGB. This is before my time.
It's like when you dance and you churn the butter. Like
okay.
Oh my.
All right.
That's what that is.
Gotcha.
Anyway.
So never be on the dance floor with you is what you're saying.
I can assure you, you will never be on the dance floor with me.
Good.
That I can
honestly praise Jesus on that one.
That I can tell you.
I heard Dan knows how to dance, though. You can bust a move.
I can bust a move. Sure, I'll bust a hip too. Thank you.
Gone off the rails already.
Well, you know what? We had a lot of love earlier on the. All right, so I'm not going to get into details. Somebody was criticizing my grammar earlier. Same person.
I know.
Now,
I've been seeing that on the super text line.
Just so we're clear, I've been on the radio station and on the radio for 30 years.
Grammar Nazis.
And the grammar Nazi, well, there's like one. And listen, whatever number she is.
So the grammar Fuhrer.
I was going to say the leader.
Yeah, the grammar czar. And she has been like after me for years.
Okay.
Now, and I don't exactly know what the problem is. It's like something about how I don't use I versus me. Well, I don't
properly.
know.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. If I'm throwing down a 20-minute monologue with 7 pieces of audio information-fueled, opinion-driven. I can't always stop that. Is it I or is it me? I don't know. I speak like I speak, and if you don't like it, deal with it. I don't know what else to tell you.
Yep.
And I'm not the only one that has had issues with that on this radio station, because this particular person has criticized other people as well. Whatever.
I get criticized a lot for that kind of stuff.
Do you really?
Yeah, I get called Canadian because of the way I talk.
Yeah, well, there's that too.
I get crap for existing. I don't know. I don't need to do much. I just get criticized.
Wait till you get married. Anyway.
You're here?
Yeah. So the best.
Oh, you're back.
What did you say?
You're here?
So the best part, though, of that whole thing is, and KGB actually made this suggestion, because that kind of stuff does bother me when people like come after me, because it's been a really good show, actually. So I'm reading it to Jeff, and he says, you know what you ought to do? You ought to text her back and say, irregardless.
That's hilarious. You should.
We think. I did. I totally did that. Yeah. And then said grammar Nazi. She sends a note back, and she said something about how irregardless isn't a word.
And I'm like, just the troll went right under the bridge.
And I don't have any.
I literally had to respond, do you know what sarcasm is?
And listen, we're just having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not hateful.
No, we can't take ourselves too seriously.
Oh, no.
Oh, absolutely not.
I certainly cannot take myself too seriously. But it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
And what were we going to do? We were going to do, Jeff, words that people use that don't actually exist. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And
there
so,
was
irregardless is one.
Yeah, supposedly is the big second one. Those are the top two. So it's supposedly, not supposedly.
What?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
There's no B in supposedly.
I don't ever use that, so I wonder if I do that. You know what? If I ever do that, I guarantee you somebody would have pointed it out.
True.
So
again, these are like my mom, God love her. I mean, like she's like that kind as well. If you say that, but like now it's a running joke in the family. Mm-hmm. So anytime my mom gets upset at me, I go, irregardless, we're fine, and just walk away.
You know, you could do real life trolls to people, and I don't want to upset the nice person who has been criticizing my grammar for 11 years, because you know what? For 11 years, she's still listening.
Wait.
Yep.
I didn't know it was that long.
This goes back to when I first started.
A decade plus. So back then, she was sending actual mail with stamps.
I was a freshman. I was 18 years old when she started criticizing. I'm turning 30 in June.
I'm assuming it's the same person. And again, I don't care. I don't take it seriously. Why I've spent this much time talking about it, I don't know. But
It's secretly,
he's gonna be driving.
Secretly bugs him.
He's gonna drive on the way home. Just a tear. One tear goes down his face.
You know what I would, because I've always got a little tear coming down my face. I was gonna go ahead and have one tattooed on there to make me look like a gangbanger that I've killed somebody, because that's, you know what that means, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Jeff, you didn't know that.
Oh my gosh, Undertaker had a teardrop during his time in wrestling. So that's, if anyone understands that reference, I applaud you. Thank you.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Thank you, Chris.
Anyway,
who's your favorite wrestler?
Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Is it the is it the rampant racism? That's what the liberals that listen will say.
Is it him burying everyone and putting himself over? Is that what you like?
I just like
this is just for me. This is just for me and Chris. I don't think
you guys are trolling me yet again, just like Marco Polo.
What are you talking about?
Shut up.
Did you see that Roseanne Barr is going to be making her hip hop debut today?
No.
Yeah.
Really?
She's going to be in a song with Tom McDonald.
No.
Yeah.
See, here's my challenge. I don't know when you're serious and when you're not.
I'm dead serious.
Okay, so she is.
Yeah, and there's she's got cornrows.
Oh my God!
Is there a picture?
Yeah, I'll find you a picture of Roseanne with the rose.
I hope it's better than her version of the national anthem. That's all I'm saying. So
I think it's getting released later on today.
Okay.
But let me find you a picture of Roseanne with the cornrows.
People are saying that people mispronounce mischievous. Did I say it right? Mischievous?
Mischievous.
Yes. Mischievous. No, it's not mischievous.
Mischievous.
Oh my God! I found it.
You found the picture of Roseanne with cornrows?
It's a something.
I can't find the picture for some reason.
Okay, very good.
I'll send it to Dan right now.
All right, send it to Dan.
What did you have for this? Apparently, this segment is never going to end. What do you got for this segment?
Do you have a favorite child?
No, they're all my favorite.
Well, parents do have a favorite child, scientists say, and it's bad news for the boys.
Yes, typically girls.
Yep.
What if there's all boys?
I saw that as well. Saw that story.
Oh, my goodness.
Most parents will. Yes. You like that?
Yeah.
Roseanne with the cornrows.
Roseanne with the cornrows. So most parents like girls better.
Most parents will try to maintain that they don't have a favorite child. I go the opposite route with my kids. They go, "Who's your favorite?" And I say, "Well, I know who it is."
Oh, Chris!
Wow,
Chris, the mind
Man,
game.
that's just wrong.
The
You gotta
mind
figure it
game.
out. I said it's an ever-changing flow chart, though. You can work your way up. You can work your way down.
It's like
Good Lord, Chris. That's a little.
we have a point system, guys.
Listen, if you take out the trash, you're my new favorite. It's like Survivor.
Come on, everybody's got a favorite.
Did you see that Von Erich movie, Chris? It's like the same thing. Remember, he has a favorite for certain points of the movie, and it changes over time, and it messes with every single kid.
It's a scale.
You know, we could be honest and say that some kids make our lives harder than others.
This is true.
That is factual.
Yeah. So if you've got a let me just speak generically now, but if you've got one kid who you spend time with and they like to do things with you, and the other one just wants nothing to do with you and calls you mean, nasty names, well then the other
easy.
one's going to be your favorite.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Pretty easy to figure out.
So I'd be willing to bet. Well, listen, kids have favorite parents.
This is true.
Right?
This is true.
So if we asked you, if we asked your kids who was the favorite parent,
I think it's going to be 4 out of 4, Virginia. That's easy all day.
Well, when you have a parent that stays home, then it could actually go either way. Their favorite parent is the one that is with them all the time, or you come home and you can be the buddy dad.
Yeah, I can be the fun one.
You can be the fun. Hey, you know what? I know that you guys have been stuck with mom all day. Let's go eat ice cream, right?
I usually get the other side of it. Dad's home. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Mom's going to tell him what we did today.
I'm kind of worried what goes on in the Chris household.
No, my kids are awesome. I love them all.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Hey, Jeff, which of your parents do you like better, your mom or your dad?
I can't do it. Not going to do it. They listen, so I'm not going to do it.
I know. That's why I'm asking you.
I'm not doing. No, because I've called them out. I've literally have asked that question over the course of my life just to see if I can get an answer. Never have. And now, like growing up, and I appreciate both of them. Like thankful they're both around and they're still active and everything. So I can't do it. Can't do it.
You know what that tells me? The answer is dad. He doesn't want to hurt mom's feelings because he'd be willing to say mom. Guarantee it. Guaranteed.
Wow.
Don't do this. I
Guaranteed.
love.
Guaranteed. Dads wouldn't mind. If you say mom's favorite, dad.
Okay.
No dad would have their feelings hurt, but if you said dad's the favorite.
If they were both on a
mom's
cliff, like
heartbroken.
if they're both on a cliff like Sophie's Choice, I'm picking my mom because my dad would want that. I know it. So.
And he's your favorite, so you're going to follow his lead.
Isn't that sweet?
Chris is just like a mind. I can't say the word, but he's just like. He just crawls in that brain. He just knows how to get at the right nerve endings in that brain.
Well, if you let him do that, then yes. But
he's like the face hugger in Aliens. You can't stop it. It's just only a matter of time.
I've actually have a natural Chris repellent that I've been able to organically been able to.
What is it like? Not showering? What is it?
Sure. Anybody who knows me knows that. Sure as heck ain't it. I do a shower. I do a bubble bath. I do everything.
Have you been sponsored by any like bubble bath companies yet, or anything with bubbles? Anything with like that?
No.
No. It's only a matter of time.
No.
You need to do.
They should.
Just a commercial. Not a radio. A TV one.
I could do commercials for Dr. Scholl's and
Throat coat.
Yes.
Yeah.
I could do commercials for both of them.
Throat coat understands it would be not a wise investment because you talk about them for free.
Yeah.
That's exactly
it's like,
right.
why pay if you're just going to keep showing us on the air?
All right, what you got coming up?
All right, so today on the show, we'll be covering some of these confirmation hearings that are going on. We'll be recapping the confirmation hearings from yesterday. Scott Bessent, were you impressed with him as I was? Like there are some guys that you don't really know about, and they kind of would play the background. but he was just an animal, an absolute animal, to the point where Democrat senators were walking out because they were like, I don't want him to answer my questions.
That's exactly right.
So we'll cover all that, plus Joe Biden's MSNBC interview last night. Did you see that with Lawrence O'Donnell?
Yeah, I played an audio bite.
Yep,
yeah.
and we got Donald Trump.
Did you hear Kamala's? Oh shoot, it's going to make us late. But that's okay. The boss doesn't listen. Did you hear the Kamala audio real quick, where she is just she's word salading a little bit, but she's also so incredibly tone deaf.
I am fully aware that I am the public face of a lot of our work, and so I have the benefit of running into people all over our country who thank me.
She also sounds like drunk Kamala.
Yeah, and listen, you were the public face of a lot of the work. This is why you didn't win.
That's exactly right.
And I will tell you, I am fully aware that when they are thanking me, they are thanking our team for the extraordinary commitment that you each have and as a team have.
She's also got that end of the bar drunk sound like she did before. Remember that whole thing?
Kamala, thank you. Who wouldn't want to eat a $30 steak?
To lifting up the American people, lifting up their condition, lifting up their hopes and dreams, and understanding through it all the nobility of public service.
The nobility of public service as she gets ready to sign a $20 million book deal.
$20 million?
Daily Mail confirmed it's going to be up to $20 million.
Who's going to read it?
Nobody.
That's what we were saying.
You know what? Who's going to read it? People that want to be terrible presidential candidates.
Yeah.
That's who's going to read it. People who want to run terrible presidential campaigns.
The book industry is such a scam. Nobody writes their stuff
really
anyway.
is.
Like, I guarantee, I would bet a year's salary that she didn't write that book.
Yep, ghostwriter.
Hey, Chris, did you like firing at the Glock store that full auto H&K suppressed MP5? Did you like doing that?
It was one of the most fun I've had firing a
So you know
a
what I
gun
did day
ever.
before yesterday?
What'd you do?
I went to the Glock store and I fired something called the Sten.
Yeah,
it is
I saw.
a World War II. Is that video up?
Yeah, I think so. On
I don't know
their
if they've
retail
got it.
page.
Shoot270.com. Go to shoot270.com. I walk in. I thought I was going to refire because I've already done it once. That full auto H&K, but they said no. You're gonna fire the Sten,
dude.
And this thing is like a World War II, like automatic rifle, and it's just like
the spring on the back of that thing is nuts.
Yes. I mean, it was crazy. So here's what we're now doing. If you want to shoot that full auto H&K suppressed MP5, you go to shoot270.com and you go ahead and make an appointment to come in. But if you want to fire that World War II Sten, you mention my name.
Oh.
And because I don't know if I've ever fired a gun like that. I mean, it was just the power and the feeling and the smell of the gunpowder. You know what I'm talking about? I love that stuff. You mentioned my name. So there you go.
All right.
That's what we're going to do.
And if you want to shoot the H&K suppressed MP5 for free, you can mention my name, Chris Hand.
Yours is a $50 value. I think mine is probably a lot more than that. So you want to mention my name.
The memories, though, will be priceless.
The memories of you firing that World War II Sten is going to be incredible. So you mentioned my name. We should probably stop. The incredible, incomparable shoot270.com, only in Nashville and only at my place to train. The Glock store, minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere. Shoot270.com.